Daddy, help me. See? Where are you?
Hello, and welcome to episode 41 of Voices in the Static, a Silent Hill fan podcast. My name is Whitney, and I'm a longtime fan of Konami's survival horror series, and the owner of the fan site, SilentHillHistoricalSociety.com, which I don't update now unless I make a new podcast episode. It's currently Saturday, November 23rd, 2024, and I'm here with several of my friends and fellow Silent Hill fans to continue our discussion on Bloober Team's Silent Hill 2 remake, because apparently 2.5 hours of talking just wasn't enough. Again, I would like to warn my listeners that this will be a spoiler-filled podcast. It will also be less structured and more of a free-form conversation, so really, I can't give any spoiler warnings. If you have not played the remake, I highly suggest you do before listening to this episode. Hi guys, Whitney editing here. I just want to let you know, if you're listening to this podcast, that the version I upload on YouTube is going to have a lot of different visuals. So like video examples and all that stuff. So if you're interested in seeing visuals with what we're talking about, head over to the Whitney Plays YouTube channel. Okay, now before we jump into discussion, why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hey, I am CJ. I've been on these podcasts quite a few times. Also, we used to do the Whispers in the Dark podcast for Rely on Horror. And I was in the first episode of this Silent Hill 2 remake podcast. So let's talk some more about it.
I'm Kyle. I also used to do the Whispers in the Dark podcast for Rely a zillion fucking years ago. And with Whitney and CJ in October and a bunch of... And I was on the first part of this one as well, and looking forward to talking about the remake again.
Hi, I'm October. I've been on a bunch of these podcasts, including the first part of this, and go all the way back to the Rely on Horror stuff. I'm super excited to be here. Love Silent Hill, and I love Silent Hill 2 Remake. I want to talk about it,
Hi, I'm AJ, also known as the Gaming Muse. I do YouTube videos about Silent Hill. I've been on a couple of these, though I think it has been a while, and I'm happy to be back.
I am so happy you can join us this time around, AJ. Yay!
And I am William. I'm the current editor-in-chief of Rely on Horror. I also love the remake, and I can't wait to talk more about it.
Yes, I'm Amy, and I run Alchemilla Hospital site, which is now on SilentHillCommunity.com.
Hey. Okay, so I know when we stopped recording last time, we realized we neglected to go into a variety of topics, like, off the top of my head, we brought up not discussing Pyramid Head, the soundtrack, pre-order bonus drama, and thoughts on different endings, but that one was mainly due to some of you guys not actually getting them all at that particular time. Was there a particular topic you guys wanted to tackle first, even something not mentioned?
Why don't we start with Pyramid Head? I guess that's the big one that everyone wanted to return to.
I was going to say that, too.
We didn't really discuss him much, and he's like a central
Kind of an important part of
figure of that game. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's Pyramid Head is now kind of like the mascot of the franchise, even though it's integral to Silent Hill 2's story. The remake, he was quite a bit different. I don't know if you guys kind of felt this way too, but it seemed like he was sort of over it. Like, again, this is kind of tying to the loop theory for me, but it just seemed like Pyramid Head is kind of like done with James's denial, and he's just kind of going through the motions. I don't know, he just seemed very subdued and a little bit more like annoyed.
Like, he yeeted his ass on top of the hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm done with
He's
this
very,
shit.
done.
Yeah, he's like, I'm so tired of this. Like, he just stares James down, like, in the closet. He's like, yeah, I know you're there. And he just looks done. That's the impression I got.
I love the juxtaposition, because in the original, when James starts shooting at him, Pyramid Head like freaks out. He's like, stop that.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't react at all. He doesn't flinch, he doesn't anything. And that shot of him just staring down the closet has this like, again, all right, kind of energy to it.
They definitely focused on making him a lot more intimidating, not just in the way that, in cutscenes, how he reacts to James, but the way he looks and moves. And I like your interpretation that it's because it has been 20 years and he's like, James, I am done with your shit. Let's finish this. It does. It works really well. I love how much, I don't know that he's scarier, because he was still scary before, but I think he feels more powerful this time.
Yeah. I think because we actually, I don't know, it just seems like he's putting his hands on James a little bit more than he did in the original. People have noticed that, like, in the first fight, if you get close to him, he doesn't just, like, deal a killing blow. Sometimes he'll just knock you back. Like, just get the fuck away from me, dude. I was surprised by the scene in Brookhaven when you come out and then he picks you up and basically just yeets him down the elevator shaft. I'm like, damn, dude.
That one got me. That was one of the few times it got me in the game.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, it was like a jump scare.
I love that he's actually there too. Like, he doesn't load in for the cutscene. He is actually just outside the door. You can catch him just as you're opening it. It really sells that jump scare, I think.
Yeah. And people have also noticed a bit that they made sure that Pyramid Head is like the same height as James. It's basically James's body. But
Can I jump in on that?
Yes, go ahead.
So there was just an interview released with Luke Roberts, I think 2 weeks ago or earlier this week, where he did confirm that he also did mocap for Pyramid Head.
Version of himself, and in fact, I did play Pyramid Head. I did the walk, and I did the movements on a separate occasion. So we did. We looped a lot of me walking as if I was dragging an incredibly heavy sword, which again was an incredibly lightweight piece of polystyrene, I think. But this is where your mime training or lack thereof comes into play.
Perfect. I love that. This is so cool.
Interesting.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which kind of goes back into that old thought theory that, it's really just James under the mask, all that thing.
That reminds me of I think it's a Hell Painter model kit. They actually had like an alternate like head where you could see it was James underneath it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I don't know about you guys, but I like that theory that it's James.
I do too.
I'm sorry, William. I didn't mean to talk over you.
I was just saying that I definitely noticed the scale difference pretty much immediately when I saw Pyramid Head and James closer together. I guess that's the first real big encounter they have with at the end of the apartments.
Yeah. What did you guys? Okay, there was one thing that I thought was kind of funny. In the apartment complex, you see him behind the bars, right? That was a moment, an iconic moment from the original game that you can't miss. Like, you cannot miss it. It is like, there is Pyramid Head. You have to basically go right in front of him to get into that room. Well, in the remake, you can miss it entirely. How did you guys feel about that?
I missed him.
You did? Okay, yeah.
I did. I had somebody come on my YouTube comments and say something like, "You idiot! You missed Pyramid Head the first time." I was like, "Oh, damn! I really did. I can't believe that."
Yeah, you guys have any theories on why maybe they changed that?
It's a little more voyeuristic.
Yeah,
I
see that. I'm sorry, what? You cut off. What did you say? Something about expectations?
Oh, I said player expectation, just kind of messed with it a little bit.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
I think it might also be, just born out of the fact that the original has the angled cameras, where the original literally just points the camera at him. And here it's like, as game developers, they're presented with a choice. You can leave it as part of gameplay where the player can point the camera wherever the hell they want. And that can allow it to still have that kind of natural feeling of it being in gameplay like the original. Or you can make it a cutscene, which objectively ruins it. So sacrificing the player maybe missing it this time versus turning it into like a big cutscene reveal, I think they probably made the right decision.
I agree.
Some parts of it are also just because of since it has like a new camera system, whereas before Silent Hill 2 had like a hybrid like behind James third person camera, and like sometimes there was
It would go like completely fixed.
fixed camera. Sorry, I couldn't remember what they were called.
Yeah, like the
and
Angela
like
scene.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's like plenty of examples, and whereas like now it's like a purely over the shoulder. Unless it's in a cutscene, it's always over the shoulder, and I think that there's just certain things that you present. Like the first time you see Pyramid Head in the original game, the camera kind of like naturally draws your eyes to it. You just see like something red in the dark, and it like pops a little bit more. And I think in the remake, just because of like how the camera works now, it's a little bit easier to miss. But I think it works really well.
Yeah, I do think I don't know if maybe this doesn't come across the same way on PC, but on PS5 the radio comes out of the controller, and the radio is loud as fuck for that moment, and that's the only reason I saw him. So it's like, why is my radio going berserk like this? And I'd like swivel the camera around until I finally saw him, because like nothing else was going on in the hallway, and it was freaking me out. And it's like louder than the radio is anywhere else in the game. So like at least that kind of caught my attention. I don't know if it feels the same on things that don't have a controller speaker though.
I did really appreciate that they kept that weird, like, mysterious red glow from him
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, the no light source glow.
Mm-hmm. I always wondered about that, like, why? I mean, it looks cool, but it's like, maybe just to highlight the red pyramid thing.
Yeah.
You could argue that thematically and visually connected to like the save squares.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
It feels, I've always felt like it was like that represents the town's power somehow, like whatever source the saves and Pyramid Head have the same source.
Or it's in James's head, you know, because you kind of go into his head when he looks into the squares.
But that would still be the same source.
James? Is everything alright?
Yeah, I'm disassociating right now.
You okay? It's like you froze for a second.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm saving my game. That's true.
Yeah, but I guess
I get what you mean.
Between the town's power and James's internalization of it, I guess.
Yeah, I get you.
Another thing I want to bring up, we said like he's a little bit more subdued and whatnot. How did you guys feel? I guess the toned down sexuality of him. Like, I know Ito says that he was not fucking the mannequins and stuff like that. He was supposed to just be abusing them, but we definitely. I remember we talked about a little bit after we stopped recording that. Yeah, it seems a bit more toned down. Like, you can't mistake.
I think that's definitely Ito's influence, and I kind of get it, because if you're thinking back then and the restrictions on what movements you can make and how much you can do, like, I remember reading something about Pyramid Head having only a certain number of fingers because of how many the computer could actually make, something to that extent. I could see where, to make it look violent and interesting, you would have to really go all out. And that the intent may have been to create something artistic and horrifying, but not necessarily sexual. Obviously, based on, it's kind of like how he designed so many monsters based on sexual imagery, but he doesn't necessarily intend them to be sexual when you look at them. And
I think Jay Blau commented on that as well the one time I interviewed him, that some of it is left to the imagination and not necessarily literal, and it doesn't need to be spelled out to the player.
Yeah, and I think maybe that they toned it down because the opinions have gone so far the one way, and Ito's like, well, no, that wasn't necessarily what we meant. You could interpret it that way, but it doesn't have to be.
I imagine my boring take on that is I just think that they wanted to keep it an M-rated game, and and they wanted to tone some of that stuff back.
Also,
'Cause, like, 'cause, like,
partly, yeah.
yeah, because like it's like I always hate this topic because like you have to. I remember back in the day, people would always say like, well, he's not really assaulting the mannequin, even though he's literally holding its legs open, and like later
Mhm.
he's like shoving the straight jacket like right into his crotch in the background. It's like, oh, like, well, I wonder what this is supposed to be. I wonder what's supposed to be happening here.
I thought he was like
Um,
eating the mannequin, not
Right.
the lying figure's butt. But
I mean that would be appropriate for what we're talking about too.
yeah.
But
I mean,
Honestly, I had forgotten about the second scene, and honestly, the second one is a lot harder to shake off and say not
It is.
sexual.
yeah, that one there's like moaning in the background. Like what? Yeah,
I mean, I do think it's also like if you look at it from like I hate the idea of calling it censorship because it's not like they changed the original game. It's a new game. But you can also kind of put that in with Pyramid Head's like personality being different in general. That like maybe he's no longer excited and is just frustrated by these stupid things now. He just wants them dead.
The spark is
You know.
gone.
The spark is gone. Yeah.
The honeymoon is over.
maybe he's
I
like.
love that there's a
15.
built-in motivation for everything the remake does that connected with the loop theory. Because
Yeah,
normally
but-
that would be a really lame excuse, but pretty much everything we've talked about works on some level as being the repeated event.
Yeah.
I'm so sad that there's a lot of people really not down with this theory. Like they're actively like, no, this is stupid. This is the easy way out. I guess I don't know
The signs have
why.
been there since the original. Like it's
Yeah. Which
I
is
think
also like,
that this
really
isn't.
weird.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it's a really weird reaction to have to a series that like for decades people have been touting like one of its best aspects is how subtle it is and how it's all like metaphor and hidden meaning and all this stuff, and this game is like quadruples down on a lot of that sort of stuff, and then people are like, no.
See,
Yeah.
I don't think it's Silent Hill's fault. I think it is Final Fantasy VII's fault. Because Final
Players
Fantasy
are gonna complain too.
Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, and it was just a pure remake, and then we all found out it was a reimagined, like, time travel kind of, like, they did that, and I think it's fun, but it definitely divided fans, and I think in the wake of it, I think a lot of people may look at this game and see it as being the same kind of hand-washy sort of explanation for the remake, where in Silent Hill 2, it's, like, baked into the, like...
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
It's like baked in there.
It's baked in there, but I think Final Fantasy VII muddied the waters.
Ah.
I think I'm more comfortable with the remake, the Silent Hill 2 remake being loop theory in that than I am the original. I don't discount that as a theory for the original. Obviously, there's evidence, but I think in general, I'm just more comfortable with that being applied to the remake because it works on a structural, like a narrative level for the remake.
Well, it's kind of like imagining the first Silent Hill game has its canon, and its sequel canon is 3, so those two are connected. But if you go to the side, you can connect it to Shattered Memories, and there's also a canon that way. You know, Silent Hill 2 is its canon, and then there's a side canon with Remake. You get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there's also just going to be people are really protective of the
you can
original
find
game.
Dunhat in the motel, so that's like an extra level of like, if that's here, then that doesn't logically mean that Silent Hill 3 has already happened.
Yeah, I really love that.
I missed that hat. I got Pyramid Head the first time I saw him, but I missed the hat, and I missed that stupid box in the hospital with the talk show or the.
Yeah, that one's hard to find because they don't tell you where it is anymore.
Kyle, you're gonna say something?
Oh, I don't. I lost my train of thought. Don't worry
Oh,
about it.
okay. I just saw
I-
you started to say something and then stopped like a couple times. So I just wanted to make sure you had your chance.
Oh,
Um,
now I remember. I would say like in terms of like, ugh, I do in one sense. I think some people don't like. I would say I personally like the whole loop idea and that it's technically a sequel and all of that. And I don't think that those things are inherently bad. I think at all. I think it's really clever the way they did it. I think it makes a lot of sense because like the first time I played the remake, I think first time I found like the memories and whatnot, I'm like, I guess these are just references. Like I don't really know why they're here. And then like okay, this supports a like grander narrative, and I quite like that. But I guess I guess some people don't like it because they don't like the idea of like their internal canon of like I don't know uh the uh the rebirth ending or the in water ending is how James's story ends, and that he's
Yeah,
just
it's screwing
forever
up their
doing that,
headcanon.
Mm.
which I sort of get because I think uh, the more you add to like an existing narrative, in some ways it kind of takes away from it. I'm speaking broadly rather,
Yeah.
not in this case. Um, but also just like whether people like it or not, like people are going to be upset about no matter what they do. So like, don't sweat it. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
I
sure.
I think most of the pushback. I mean, I saw just from my Twitter thread talking about the loop theory. A lot of people did not like the thought that James is stuck in Silent Hill for so long. Like they feel like it doesn't make sense because he runs into the same characters. Does that mean these characters are stuck in that loop? And we kind of went into that in the first podcast. Um, but my thing is, I don't know. For me to make the remake part of the loop theory, I don't. It lifts the original up for me. It's like, that is the canon experience, and this is just like an offshoot. If you got like the Maria end or the in water end,
yes.
and
Yes.
and James has another opportunity to get like Alan Wake 2, get the spiral, not
Hmm.
the loop, And
Yeah.
I like that. It's not saying that he is stuck there.
Yeah.
It comes down to player interpretation, and they're
Yeah.
not outright saying one way or the other, but they're leaving all these little
It
Mhm.
could be that way, yeah.
breadcrumbs. Yeah.
Also, I think that it's really important to emphasize too that like you've been here 20 years can also just be meta, and it's the
Mhm.
players that it's
Mhm.
talking about.
Mhm.
Oh, I
Like if it
guess we
really
should
if it,
bring that up. Sorry.
Well, can I say one thing about the idea of the Silent Hill 2 loop thing? Um, the idea people don't like that the characters being there. I get the idea with James because in the happier endings, he definitely has peace. So I don't think remake is a continuation of those.
No, it's
But
not.
I,
No, no. If he
but
does leave, yeah.
yeah, I don't think either Angela or Eddie had found their happier endings. They're obviously still stuck in the loop, I could totally see them still being trapped in this town because neither of them have fully faced up to or figured out what's going on with them,
Mm-hmm.
wait,
So
does
no
this
wonder
mean
they're still there.
so this means that Silent Hill 2 is actually a roguelike this entire time.
Oh my god.
You mentioned that the 20 years like meta thing. I guess we should bring up the Polaroid got solved.
That was so cool.
Oh man,
Yeah.
hold on. I want to give them credit. So hold on.
Fairly quickly, too.
Polaroid
I would never have put that together.
solved.
Yeah, I didn't even
figure them out.
I was just like,
What
I
are
guess they're just in the wrong order or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was like the order of them that this is picture that was taken 7th. Nope.
Yeah, so I want to
Mhm.
give props to Redditor Dale Robinson. They solved the remake photos, and it has been confirmed by the devs that yeah. So basically, you had to find 26 photos, right? And on the back there was a number, which meant that was the order you had to put them in. And then looking at the photo, there was a certain thing you needed to count. Like there was an object. There was like either multiples or whatnot. For example, the first Polaroid, it was the picture of the apartment buildings, and there's some windows, and basically the six sorry, there's 6 windows, so you take the caption "so many people here" and you'd count the letters, and the 6th letter is the Y. So that was your first letter of the message, and that continued on until you got to the very last Polaroid, which was "shape forces the mind," which was just like the red square. So it was just 1. That means you have to get the first letter, which is S, and basically it spells out "you've been here for 2 decades." And that could either be talking to us, the fans, who've been obsessed or replaying and talking about Silent Hill for over 20
to everyone
years.
on this podcast.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or it could also be a message to James if he's stuck in this loop. He's not getting the leave ending. You've been here 20 years, dude. Come on.
Hurry
Yeah.
the fuck up.
I want to know what power of Silent Hill is like remodeling like the hotel and whatnot while he's in a loop. He'll just like change it up a little bit so he doesn't notice or something.
It just watches a lot of HGTV on the side.
I guess.
I honestly think it can be explained if you consider it as like, if real time is passing in the real world, then places and buildings are going to change. And like, they're going to move Bar Neely's because the owner decided to move to the other side of town or something. Like, I like that idea that it's just the time. And maybe it's a blend of some of the James's experience is shifting the town, so it's making places that don't exist anymore. And the other could be some places are real places that are being made to fit James's situation,
Yeah.
It's also like the deeper in he goes, the larger the labyrinth gets. So, applying that to everything, like everything's so much bigger now. So like now everything's a much bigger maze and designed more maze-like. I mean, the apartments used to be like a couple hallways stacked on top of each other. Now it's this huge thing, and the same with the hospital. It was 3 floors of an L shape, and now it's this huge giant thing that you explore basically every single room of. That just the deeper in he gets, the crazier and more maze-like the town itself becomes.
Yeah, more chaotic, like.
Yeah.
There was something I wanted to bring up about the hospital. So there apparently were a lot of hidden like files in the game, and fans, of course, dig through the files, and they found like this whole sub narrative about maybe James being committed to a psych hospital. That was something that was kind of hinted at and brought up in the Silent Hill 2 novel, where he thought maybe some of the stuff he was seeing in Brookhaven was related to him. And in this side narrative, it was kind of implied that that James was each patient. He was the angry patient, the dirty patient, and the oh my god, what was the third one? Dirty,
Angry.
Bloody, I think.
Bloody, yeah. Yeah, the three different patient, the psyches, aggression and disgust and whatnot, all were part of James's experience in his own mental hospital, where the director took advantage of him, and that's why there's like the torn holes that look like abuse, like he was abused, and why he looks so disgusted, like putting his hand in and whatnot. So there's like this like subtext that James is. We already know he's kind of mentally broken, but there's like this subtext there that he, I guess, spent time in the hospital. I just found that really fascinating that it's there, but maybe they felt it was too much and they took it out.
Was it? No, I need to ask. When you say people found files, are you saying like they literally like were looking in the data and they found files?
Yeah, the data.
I think it was
not stuff that's in the game, like the final build of the game.
No. It's in some of it is in the game. It's just that it's been more hidden, I guess.
Or there are pieces missing to that narrative that you can find in the game.
So
already.
I'm wondering if maybe they thought that they went. Oh, I should shout them out. I'm referring to is Rachel Ashman on Twitter, they've posted a lot of like hidden stuff, lore, cut content, data mining and cam hacks and stuff like that. So they've been do these long ass threads about it. It's fascinating. I'm just wondering, is there maybe a reason why it wasn't in the final game? But it's still fun. Maybe it's just for people data mining to have fun. I don't know.
I feel like
I want to say too, sorry, before we start, the same person also found a theory or discovered some things that the janitor in the apartment may also be James. I don't know. I have to take these kind of things with a grain of salt simply because we are in a world that is trying to reflect James's experience. So how much is the town trying to show him pieces of himself in people that live there, and how much is actually him? I think it can be argued how much of either is true, but I love all the theorizing and the interesting things being found about all these characters.
Yeah.
I think it's
yeah, even though it's not necessarily true, it's still interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's when I think it, you can kind of go down these rabbit holes as deep as you want. When something's like deliberately like in the code and not necessarily in the game, I'm not sure I would take that as like a sign. And I know you clarified, but like a lot of the time when something is like hidden in the code for a game, it's just because like that was something early in development and they can't remove it because X, Y, and Z because of how programming works and whatnot. So it could be, but I don't know. It's when was James in a psych
it was supposed to be in his early
in the novelization, which was
early 20s. We don't we find out why? I don't think it was ever
I don't know. I don't know if that novel is actually. I know the first one and the third are translated by fans. I do not know if Silent Hill 2 is.
Yeah, they did finally translate it. I haven't really read it. I just know there's certain things in it because of the wiki and stuff. I should sit down and actually read it. But I think it was early 20s.
Yeah.
I
would wonder if maybe the reason that they either downplayed or removed some of this is, they did an article a while back about the original devs wanting to do more different things and new things, and the Bloober Team being like, well, no, maybe not. I wonder if there was some fear that people would take it in a bad way because it would be different from the original. Even if it was kind of built on canon.
People scrutinize Bloober as well because, with the medium, they would definitely go in there like, how don't you dare do another sexual assault story.
I just want to point out that also, like, Brookhaven was the first area that they worked on. Like, it was the place they started, and I could see them putting all these extra little things in the area that just didn't pan out.
That's a good point, because that was what was leaked years ago. It was a screenshot of James by that desk, which is exactly the same in the final game.
Yeah. So maybe they started off and they're like throwing all their kind of like the new things they were kind of hoping to see, or the like Ito and whatnot wanted to put in, and then as they were working on it and they realized, then they kind of came to the realization that fans might not be open to sort of this quote unquote new lore, even though it might have been something that it was on the back burner for the original team. Yeah,
as more people were shitty on the internet.
Yeah.
A day ending in Y.
So maybe that's why they maybe removed or made it a little bit more obscure. Like, it's kind of still there, but not.
I feel like...
I can't believe Silent Hill 2 ripped off Silent Hill Homecoming by putting the protagonist in a mental institution. Story.
I feel like the answer with this is somewhere in between three options, I think. Because the person you were talking about on Twitter, Rachel, has uncovered all sorts of shit that's there that I don't know how else you could possibly have seen it other than, like, cam hacking and stuff. They just posted a thing earlier that was when you're in the save screen, James's hands are shaking. And it's like the only reason that they would have left that in is for cam hackers. There's no reason to have that data taking up space.
You actually cut out what did you see in that save screen?
James's hands are shaking whenever he's saving.
Okay. Yeah, he's like trembling.
He's he's having some sort of like PTSD response to the save.
It is one.
Yeah.
It-
But
Go ahead, October. Sorry.
just to finish my thought. But I think there's that it's like in between three things, because like I think there's definitely stuff here that's only for people going through the game on PC and ripping it apart and finding weird shit. Because there's so many things like that I'm like, how else is anyone supposed to see this? Why would it be here in the first place? I think that there is probably a lot of stuff there because of the way games are made. That's just them going, it's not working, cut it, and it just got cut. And then there's stuff like with James in the mental institution, and some of the stuff Rachel was posting kind of seemed to point to him having his own kind of sexual trauma. And especially after the medium and the kind of reputation that Bloober made for themselves, I don't think this is something anybody should assume, but they get accused of vilifying people with trauma a lot. And I don't think it would be lost on them that maybe saying, oh, well, James did these horrible things, but he's a victim of trauma too. I can see them kind of going, you know what? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Let's not open that can of worms.
Yeah. It just, it changes the discussion around James so completely to like, oh, well, yeah, he's really fucked up. Because then you can have the argument like, because he's a trauma victim. It's like, no. Let's not go there. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we knew from his dad that there was something.
Oh, yeah,
going
his
on.
dad, there's certainly something up there.
Yeah. Did
Dad,
anyone
what's
else?
in that box? Don't touch that, James.
It smells.
Fresh as the umbilical cord. The flesh,
Dad,
the
you're
baby
always-
flesh.
That's where I keep your foreskin.
Yeah, wait. It's about circumcision all along? Okay.
No.
No, don't do that.
I wonder how many of us took the chains that were throughout the game. The way they are anchored to specific places and the way they function is so like 4. Like it has to be a callback.
It has to be a reference, yeah.
Well, yeah. It's
especially in the shadow of short message. I think it's a deliberate thing that like the chains are just part of Silent Hill's voice.
It's aesthetic.
Yeah, that's true.
It's got a style guide.
Yeah, it does. A brand guideline right here. All right, Pyramid Head, you have to be wearing this.
Must comply with the Silent Hill dress code.
Yeah, I do love that they updated the dress code to let Masahiro Ito unleash his full nasty with some of the monsters.
The red stocking as a nurse is a great touch. I love it.
Yeah,
because I love that gecko figure since they released it.
I said this in the last podcast, but far and above, the best thing about this remake for me is like the town finally feels like the town again for the first time since like the 3rd game, and it's largely because Masahiro Ito's art is back. Like I forgot how important his art was to the vibe of those first 3 games for me anyways. And now it's like, oh gosh, it looks so gorgeous, and like it looks like they used like the exact same color palette for like the remake too. Like it's all the same hues. It's just all rendered in like a much more higher fidelity engine, of course.
I think it has part to do with there's been periods in Ito's work life, from what I can tell, that have really struggled, and I think at times he's maybe struggled himself with how much Silent Hill has kind of defined his life, and a lot of other things haven't worked out. And there was a canceled Silent Hill title around 2011 that he was working on, and there were a couple other canceled games. Like I think for a while maybe that was really, I don't know, I just feel like this game feels like he loves it again. He's found like his groove.
Yes, he has said some things to that effect, I think, in the past.
Yeah.
A while ago.
Like he hated Pyramid Head at one point. I think he was just frustrated.
It was the only thing on SilentHill.com for like a year.
Yeah.
Before everyone found out that Game Grumps bought it.
I feel like for him, I think this is purely me speculating, but I think especially for him, just like Silent Hill fans are always asking him annoying questions on Twitter, and he clearly got like. Don't, like, y'all, if you're listening, don't ever ask that man about Centralia, please.
Ask him nothing. Leave
ask-
Masahiro Ito alone.
He can't even joke. He can't even joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, Actually, my favorite thing is like we talk about these things like, oh, this is all meaning. Every single thing in this game is James, and then someone will ask, I'm just joking, but like, and then like someone will ask him like, what does this mean? He's like, I don't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
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 Like,
It was 20 years
whatever.
ago.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's been 25 years, kid. What do you
I think half of it is definitely that, and the other half is just Japanese game work culture. Like he went, from what I understand, Silent Hill 3 was like hell to work on. They wasted a lot of time. They cut a lot of the
wasted
budget
money.
a lot of the time. The wasted money. And he really struggled being in charge of like all the art and wearing like 5 different hats. And he went indie after, or what would you call it? Independent. And has been ever since. But when he's been independent, he's only had like maybe 2 games successfully launch and like a ton that just got canceled. And I think part of his frustration with Silent Hill was definitely the feeling of like, are my glory days behind? Like nothing's working out, you know?
And all these kids want to talk about is this thing I designed 20 years ago.
Well, being typecast, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he made like one of the most iconic monsters in like all of like horror, basically. But also like, yeah, I can understand where it'd be like, I didn't just do that,
Yeah.
And on top of that, I bet it's a little frustrating that for a lot of people, the Pyramid Head they know is probably the movie Pyramid Head.
The movie
They'd
version.
be like,
yeah.
I love Pyramid Head, and then show that.
Yeah.
Also, major props to Bloober for not making him the buff Pyramid Head. I would be so upset. I'm just gonna say it. I would be upset if they did that.
He is kind of a variant based on an older Ito art.
Yeah, he's got like the big like meat sack on the back of his head.
Which
There's
apparently feels like my friend asked. It feels like dried fruit.
Let me see if I can find the picture.
Wait,
it's a piece of
very specific.
Pyramid Head feels like dried fruit.
The sack thing.
Oh,
the sack thing on the back. She's like,
Same,
what does
to
it
be
feel
honest.
like? And he's like, dried fruit.
Yeah, there were older ones like on his GeoCities.Japan site.
Yeah, there's a picture that says the Lakeview Hotel is burning still, and the Pyramid Head has the kind of like front sort of apron and the legs showing in the same way the new one does. And I think it was purposely based off that art that's from like, I don't know, 2005 maybe.
Oh,
see if I can find.
Can you post that?
I'm looking to see. I know I have it. I just need
Okay.
to wake up my hard drive.
Yeah, I think another thing I really liked. He still is like grimy and stuff too. I love what the new like helmet where like one side is kind of that image. Okay, yeah.
Pretty similar in the pants. He actually talked about it on Twitter and was like, yeah, they kind of resemble, but I don't know if that was him saying it was on purpose or it just happened.
Yeah. I like the little like addition to the side of his helmet. It's kind of looks a little bit like squishy or whatever.
He said it was canvas.
Yeah,
It's
didn't he
canvas,
say
yeah.
it's not actually bag of flesh, it's like bag of fabric?
Yeah, it's very dumb, but it to me it reminds me of like when someone's car window gets broken in and they cover it with a trash bag.
Oh my god. I mean,
Helmet's,
they
like,
might have
starting to rot after so many years, so he's had to like replace parts of it with the tarp.
I mean, tying it into the whole the metaphorical high art meaning behind James smashing every car window in Silent Hill.
I love that they put that in there. It's so dumb and I love it.
Yeah, I
And
have
Maria
to break
talks-
everything.
She
Yeah,
reacts
Maria
to it.
reacting is great.
Yeah.
I actually really like it just because like that's what I would do if I was in
Right?
like I'm gonna smash a car window and see if there's something I can use in here.
I'm having a very bad day. Fuck this window, fuck that window, fuck this one.
Oh, hey, health drink. I wasn't even looking for one. I just
Yeah.
wanted to smash some windows.
Yeah.
Who's leaving all this Pepto-Bismol around Silent Hill for healing?
Yes.
It's for his tummy aches. He keeps holding his tummy. So again, speaking, Major, you mentioned Maria's comments when you're breaking the windows. So I started kind of like a thread on Twitter about just some of the little details I really liked that they put into the game that maybe people didn't notice or things that I thought were for longtime fans. I brought up, for example, the newspaper headlines, like the Gillespie house fire, arson, or accident, things like that. What I really appreciated, which I didn't I didn't notice my first couple times through the game was that Maria actually makes comments if you let her, the monsters attack her. Basically, she can die. What happens if I don't help her? No! She can die! I didn't realize that. Oh, man. Not getting the Maria ending this time. Okay. No! No! Are you kidding me? It didn't give me a save? Oh! No! Okay, that's not funny anymore. No! But the thing is, if you let a monster attack her long enough, she'll push it away, and then for a little bit, she'll be holding her arm to her side, and she'll be like, oh, like for example, she'll push it away, and she's like, oh, I'm bleeding, or oh my god, that hurt, or she'll like kind of scream, and afterwards,
you can give her a potion.
You can?
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't know. Just I remember one time when she was like that, and I walked up and it said potion or something, and she got better.
Oh, I never saw that pop up.
Neither did I. Wow.
Well, maybe I am hallucinating.
Because after a while, once you get out of danger, either like killing the monster or just like moving far enough away, she'll be better again. So it'll like reset her character animation, because I figured she can't be healed, and she'll say a line to James. So the first time it lets it happen, she's like, why didn't you save me? And he's like, oh, I know, I'm sorry, apologetic. And she's like, yes, I know. You could tell that she's hurt that he still didn't step in. Then there's a second time it happens. And then the third time it happens, she is just she's very hurt and very angry. She's like, you didn't even try to rescue me. And it's like, oh man, I feel really bad recording this right now.
Fine, leave me on my own.
You all right?
No, James. I'm not. Not at all.
I'm sorry.
I know. Why didn't you help me?
Sorry.
What's the matter with you? You didn't even try to help me.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in on the video portion of this podcast. But anyway. I noticed that they didn't have to do this, but I thought it was kind of cool. It reminded me of me kind of replaying Deadly Premonition to get different conversations and stuff in different chapters. I don't know. I love like variations to scenes. Like if you approach, I'm sorry, I'm going kind of Deadly Premonition mode, but like when you approached a mission marker, like the cutscene that played was slightly different if you walked into it with people, drove into it late. Stuff like not every little details maybe people won't even pick up on, right? That is my jam. I love that shit. So I was very happy to see that the remake kind of does this with Heaven's Night. So if you spend time in Heaven's Night, like longer than just like walking through, James is a little bit more open talking to Maria when you're leaving.
We could come back later if you want, in case we need a break.
I'm not sure if that's a good idea.
Whatever you say. I mean, any port in the storm, right?
I guess so.
If you just rush through, he sounds very curt and annoyed that they even had this little detour where he's like, we shouldn't have stayed here this long. Mary could be waiting for me. He sounds annoyed at Maria that they're even going through that.
We shouldn't have stayed here this long.
Hey, it's okay. We're almost there anyway.
Good. No more delays. I need to find Mary.
Well then, let's hope you will.
And I didn't notice that until I was rushing through, because I wasn't going for the Maria ending. And I was like, whoa, that's a different conversation. I just thought it was neat that you can kind of tell James is not feeling the Maria ending at that point in time, where he's just like, he's very focused on finding Mary. So I thought that was a neat little
I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that, like little things that you can just miss that you won't catch until another playthrough. One I wanted to mention during Pyramid Head, it just never naturally came up. My favorite like little moment was in the like prison labyrinth area when there's a certain part where Pyramid Head can kind of chase you, but if you get away from him and then you go down to a ladder, if you just for a second as you're going down the ladder, you can see him just standing above you watching, and it was like one of the most off-putting moments for me to just be like, okay, I got away from him. No, he's right there.
Mm-hmm.
He's not even chasing me. He's just watching me. Like, that was the coolest moment. And if you go back up, he's gone.
It has a very
Oh yeah, I remember that. I forgot
we
all
were
about
talking
that.
earlier about how Pyramid Head's personality changing. The first time I saw that, I had the same kind of reaction I did with the closet. He's just this like, okay, good, you're still on the correct path. See you later.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of like little details that are kind of easily missed. Some of the other kind of things I liked, I already mentioned the poster in the hospital. That apparently blew a lot of people's minds because that was like the first thing I brought up. But I don't know, there's just all these little fan related things that it feels like deep cuts. So another little thing that I liked was the mannequins jumping on Nathan Avenue. Like I'm so used to it, like in the original game, it always looked goofy and funny. But in the remake, they wait until you get to the corpse and then you hear them and you're like, oh shit, a monster's going to attack me. You turn around, it's just their dead bodies on the ground. And for most players, they're just like, oh, it's like a weird little jump scare. But for us, it's like, oh shit, there are the mannequin legs. Well, I was wondering where they were on my whole trek up to the end of the road. I like how they took Silent Hill, the town, and the fact that we had a lower camera angle and a more detailed environment to look at. They used it to maybe hide a little bit more lore about James's character too. So we got more posters about like his alcoholism. There's one about anger, being in control of your anger.
There's a lot about drugs.
Yeah, a lot about like call this drug hotline. It's little things like that. They didn't need to go that extra mile, but I appreciate that they did. For fans like us who are gonna like hyperfixate on the stupidest little things in the game. Another little thing I wanted to point out was like in Heaven's Night was that kiss sign. The reflection on the wall makes it look like sick, which I thought was really cool too.
That is really cute.
Yeah, just little things like that. It just made me appreciate replaying the game more, besides like the little fan nods with like the nods to Silent Hill 1 with the little travel area. What is the word I'm looking for? Travel agent?
Sure.
Yeah, the little travel
yeah.
agency. You broke the window and you see the little brochures for like places in Old Silent Hill, like Lakeside, the church, the lighthouse. Just little nods like that. I really appreciated that they put in there, and the fact that they used this graphical upgrade to hide in more environmental storytelling about the characters and the town itself.
I think
that's all I'm trying to get to.
I don't know if we mentioned this last time, but I think Well, my favorite of these deep cuts is definitely the Maria pole dancing thing, just because like I had totally forgotten that used to be a thing. People said it was a real thing in the original game.
Yeah.
Like that totally left my memory. And then when she walked out on the catwalk and she does like a little spin, and I was like, "What? Did they just? No, wait, they did." And then like that's such a deep cut. Like that just means that people on the development team are
They've been around for a while.
they've been around and they're like us and obsessed with the
Mhm.
franchise. And obviously like I think since that podcast, I actually think that the Alessa or the Gillespie house fire thing was actually my favorite, just because people have argued about that stupid boiler thing for so long. And
Yeah.
it's actually kind of fun because like I'll be honest, it's been so long since I thought about that whole boiler explosion thing. I don't remember the details, but I do like that they've almost woven it into the story. It's like, well, no one really knows if it was intentional or if some random boiler explosion, like
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Or you could also look at it as, again, how the power the cult has over the town's like police and like government,
Narrative.
where they're able to use their cover story and twist it enough where even the town
Yeah.
folk themselves are kind of arguing about it too.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I want
no.
to say about Bloober Team and talking about them knowing this game so well. I know a lot of folks got really nervous when they were shown to be the developers, but to me, it was like they're the first developers that have been chosen that I feel like were chosen because they were known for horror games. Whereas previous developers have been chosen because they were known for developing on the PSP. And I feel like that's a better starting point and part of why this game feels like such a triumph.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Um,
And really, I mean, sorry.
No,
If
no,
you
go
look at
ahead.
like all of Bloober's horror work, all of it feels like, I mean, the Medium especially, but all of it, like Layers of Fear and Observer and the Medium and Blair Witch, all of them feel like a pitch document to make this game. They all
My
feel like,
Yeah,
damn, we would love
I
to
was
make
gonna bring
Silent
that
Hill.
up. Yes.
I went back to my Layers of Fear review from way back on Rely on Horror, and I noticed that I actually put a couple sentences in there saying like there are kind of just little wisps of like something like what you would want from a Silent Hill 2-esque story.
Hmm.
So I was like, I guess the seeds have been there for a long time. Like they clearly wanted to make something like Silent Hill, or Silent Hill inspired them to become a studio that almost exclusively makes horror games.
Well, yeah,
So
they
Yeah.
did say that, right? That Silent Hill 2 was like the biggest inspiration for a lot of the members on the team. And why I think, gushing just about these little details in the environment, I think this game does it so well is because all their previous horror titles were quote unquote walking simulators where their biggest storytelling element was the environment itself and what the character was going through. So they're used to hiding cool lore things just in players' own observations. They're used to not having to spell it out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I think
And
also in the medium, the medium specifically, where you literally have an other world in that. Like you have the old decrepit area, but then you have like a literal other world in that game as well. All that environmental detail. I knew they were making the remake when I played the medium when I started it, and every environment that I came across pretty much reinforced that idea of environmental storytelling and just the fidelity of all the details and all
Mhm.
the nooks and crannies. Real quick, I wanted to mention you had talked about the flying figures on Nathan Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of times in the Silent Hill 2 remake that you go through an area and it has all these dead bodies in it. Sometimes it's that one area where it's like a gauntlet. I think that's either right after or right before the Angela fight. Maybe it's in the hospital. I can't remember now. But you go through the one area and the red light comes on and the door locks and all the creatures get up and you have to fight them.
Oh yeah,
But there's
that's after the Angela fight. That's like right before you go
yeah.
fight Eddie.
But there's also a couple different areas where you just go into a section and there are just like bodies everywhere. I took that to mean I wasn't exactly sure of the meaning, but at the time it felt like Pyramid Head had been doing that, because there's like sword marks and scratches everywhere in certain areas. But what do you guys think that it is? Is that specifically Pyramid Head doing that, or do you remember those areas with all the
Yeah,
bodies?
yeah, I remember you're talking about. You're talking about like for example, the prison where you had to get the weight in the shower room, and there's a bunch of already dead monsters when you walk in, and
Right,
then
it's
they're
monsters that you haven't
reanimated.
killed. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, some of them
Um.
come back, and some of them are just ones that you haven't killed, and you go into an area and they're just there.
Yeah. You know what, I didn't like, and in the apartment building when you're in Blue Creek. There's like that one hallway where there's some dead bodies that get reanimated when you go near them. I can see it being maybe Pyramid Head clearing the way, but of course, like their corpses come back to life eventually. We see it during regular gameplay as well. I can see that theory going for Pyramid Head was the one that first killed them, maybe to make things a little bit easier for James because he's so frustrated that he's not getting his lesson. He's like, let me make
Maybe
this a
those
little
are the
bit
bodies
easier for
left
you, dude. Yeah.
Or maybe
So
those are the bodies left over from a previous loop. Who knows?
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I never really thought about it maybe being like an outside force doing that. I just assumed it was a gameplay mechanic to scare the players for the most part.
No, everything has a meaning. It has to.
Mm.
I do like that it feels like you can feel Pyramid Head shadows in a lot of places like that. It's a neat touch.
Yeah, when he's not actually on screen.
Yeah.
And I also kind of like how the town is still like throwing older versions. It seems like it's trying to throw older versions of itself at James to make him like wake up. Like, hey, dude, come on, look how different the town is now. We got these old ass maps, just in random places that look nothing like what the town is now. Like the map in the back of the Woodside Apartments by the gate that's locked. You find the old
Maybe
map.
like the town's forgotten to change that. Like
Yeah, it's like a a glitch in the Matrix type of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Or
silent
James is
silent hit.
remembering it the way he wants to, and that's conflicting with what the town's trying to do.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Kyle?
I was gonna say Silent Hill's like interior decorators just like changing things when it feels like. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
One thing, this is kind of tangential, but something I really enjoyed in the wake of the remake coming out and seeing all the reactions was Tom Hewlett actually brought this up, and I thought it was a really interesting. Kind of ties into the whole environments thing, and a lot of people always talk about how they felt like, and honestly myself included, how the games after 3 always never quite felt the way those first 3 games did. And I thought it was really interesting that he brought up monotony going hand in hand with dread, and how in Silent Hill like 1, 2, and 3, and it's so interesting because I never thought about this ever before, but the level design and specifically all of the location, well, 90% of the locations you visit in Silent Hill 2 are architecture where it's a large building where there's lots of rooms, and the rooms are all kind of the same in the sense that there's an apartment building, there's a hospital, there's a jail, there's a hotel, and all those kinds of buildings in real life are, it's a lot of the same rooms, just they have different decoration and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really fascinating how he brought up that, like, there's almost like a monotony, especially like, thinking like to the Blue Creek apartments where like, yeah, it's just kind of like the same room, but at like a different angle, and like the inside of it looks different. But if you look really closely, of course, because that's how apartments are in real life. And I thought that was like a pretty brilliant observation, and that's something that Bloober clearly noticed. Because
Yeah, I think also the beginning, like the long forest walk.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
like, because there is kind of like okay, you're going into this apartment room, and there might be like 2 good items in there, and everything's scattered about, and then you go into essentially the same room across the hall, and it's completely different. You know, there's suddenly a handgun and a shopping cart in the middle of a
Yeah.
room for some reason. I just think that's like really fascinating when you think about like the kind of like horror that the Silent Hill, like when it's at its like peak, or like there's like a level of monotony there. And he gave them major kudos for that. And I think it's the same here, because I would have, it seems so obvious in hindsight, but I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
That's
makes
so
a good
interesting.
point. He makes a good point too, in another thread somewhere, I think, where he talks about how this game honestly feels like it learns from all the Silent Hill games, and it took a lot of the best of even the Western games. And I really felt that too playing it. It felt like you could tell the people playing didn't just play two; they tried them all.
Yeah, we kind of mentioned that a little bit in our first podcast with like, I think it was October. You said it felt like the combat was like the bones of Silent Hill Homecoming and Downpour, with like the clothes getting bloody and just the combo kind of moves you do.
Yeah, and
against...
it's neat because the nurses have that like counter combo, or if you spam them too many times, they'll just grab the pipe and throw you away.
Yeah.
And that feels like a lesson being learned from like Homecoming's combos just being these infinite stun locks in the game. Like once you figure out the combo with the knife, the game loses all challenge instantly.
Yeah.
Whereas here, like it feels like a lesson learned that like, oh, if they spam too many times, we should punish that.
Yeah, even the maybe this is a bit of a reach, but I really like even the way you use the map kind of reminds me of in Downpour when you would pull out like the book, and it was in real time, and it was real time. Like there's an element to like, I know some people don't like the whole real time map because they can't like relax. So like, well, just pause the other, but just use the other pause menu then, like, because I really liked that, because again, like I'm just a huge dork for diegetic stuff in games, and I'm honestly surprised that more games over the past 20 years, because I can't think of any, didn't take the whole idea that that's the original Silent Hill games, of like marking on the map with a pen, and they just like added to it there, and like that extra touch of like, oh, James just read a note, so he's actually going to write on his map and pull it out. Like that's really cool.
Yeah.
I really
if
like
anything,
that kind
I
of
feel
stuff.
like games have like actively worked to get farther and farther away from
Yeah.
that. Because like Resident Evil would make its maps feel like they had some sort of like gadget, because they were always on, like a digital grid.
But
Whereas
Leon and
now
Claire,
it's like
Leon and Claire,
completely.
Sorry, October.
Okay. It used to be like a digital grid and look like they had a little handheld PDA thing like they have in the new movie. And now it's just there's nothing. It's just just gray boxes on a black background. There's no.
Yeah, Leon and Claire in 1998 somehow have a GPS that like marks where items are in the environment.
Well, Shattered Memories, you could use the Wiimote to actually make custom.
I never actually used that, but
I forgot
that was a cool thing.
I thought it was a cool idea.
I think that.
We're talking about games in the last 20 years that haven't really done the marking on a map. Speaking to the diegetic point, what was it, 2008, 7 Alone in the Dark game that came out? I liked it. A lot of people thought it fell short. I thought the story was probably the worst aspect. They didn't really use it. Didn't really take advantage of the setup. But that was a game where your inventory was Carnby's jacket, and every time you needed something, like the view would go down into his chest, and you could open the left or the right jacket, and then it would highlight whatever inventory item you needed. So if you needed like a spray or more ammo, you would go down and select that. And I thought that was one of the coolest inventories I'd ever seen. I don't think there was ever a sub-screen for it. I think it was always just his like real jacket in real time.
It's funny. You've unlocked a memory. Not to go on a tangent, but Outlast 2 ripped that off. It's like almost identical.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't played that one yet.
And Resident Evil 8 also uses that when you play in VR. When you VR, you have to like open up Ethan's jacket to get like guns and first aid sprays out. It's only in VR though.
I love how VR will map a certain like behind your back is like the shotgun or something, and your hip is always the handgun. Like I thought that was awesome.
Oh yeah, totes.
Going back to the map thing, what I really liked was them actually showing him right on the map in game.
Yeah.
So you realize, did I miss a clue or something like that? There was a couple times where I was like, I passed the moth door or whatever. I liked that they brought a little bit of attention to James actually doing the act and not just automatically doing it. I thought that was a neat little touch, a detail that they didn't have to put in, but they chose to help, I guess, guide players in not being obvious about it,
Yeah, that's an extra little hint that you could miss if you're not looking, but it would probably be helpful to people who paid attention.
Yeah, It's not just his head moving. Or if you turn off the little dot indicator for items and things like that, it gives you an idea that, hey, there might have been something in this room that I missed, or whatnot.
One thing I didn't like, though, like in a similar category of what we're talking about, is the fact that James pulls out his weapon whenever an enemy's nearby. I felt like that was entirely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Kind of just ruined the moment, because of course, there are monsters that are in the game, but like I don't need like a signal or some type of warning system.
If anything, it's a little weird that he puts it away at all, because then it begs the question of like, where's that going? Whereas if you weren't paying attention to it and he just flipped between melee and gun in combat, but instead he like tucks it away in his jacket and it's a little goofy.
He's putting it up his butt like the Outlast guys.
Has he got a whole ass chainsaw in his pocket? No?
Yeah. That reminds me, I don't know, did I bring this up in our first podcast? But when you have the chainsaw, it is a powerful weapon. But God, is it annoying that
it is very loud.
It's loud, but so I end up going back to the gun or whatever. But it's also when you're using it that sometimes he'll just stop and pose.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He has the yelling, and then he has the one where he's just crossing his legs and holding it downwards. And a lot of times it happened at the most inopportune moments where I had to make sure to hit dodge so he'd break out of that stupid animation.
Yeah.
I know it's something from the original game, and like when he raised it above its head, it's a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reference. That's what that is. But it's like, it is. There's like times where you're just like looking at something and he starts doing it, and it's like, fuck, stop.
Or I'm like,
I wish they
trying
would have
to
kept
run.
the hyper spray. I'm kind of disappointed there's no like bonus like weapon that can be used like a gun or anything.
It's weird that they actually put the hyper spray in the apartment building. I wonder if maybe at one point you were going to be able to pick it up there.
Wait, it's in the apartment?
Yeah, it's like an inert model. You can't do anything with it, but you have to like zoom in and see that it's the hyper spray.
I do kind of now that you're like, I didn't think about this, but I do kind of wish they had added more like silly weapons, like like I know that I guess the chainsaw is technically supposed to be one of those, but like I want like a lightsaber like in Silent Hill 3.
Do you want a magical girl, James?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just something like have a super soaker full of holy water. I don't know. Just some goofy shit. Like, why not?
Bring back that Konami gun thing that they had in Homecoming.
Yeah, the zapper, or the blaster. We touched
the
on
hyper blaster. You mean?
Hyper blaster, yes.
Yeah.
We touched on the idea of them doing a Born from a Wish DLC, like very briefly in the first episode. I would not at all be surprised if a hyper spray was added as part of that. That like you beat Born from a Wish and you get the hyper spray for both, kind of thing.
I don't know how they haven't mentioned that at all.
I worry that the ownership of it might belong to Microsoft as part of an exclusive deal because that came out on the Xbox.
No,
wasn't it on?
But they also released it on PS2. It was just something where they wanted a little extra when they ported it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think.
Then maybe.
I mean, it's on the greatest hits and it's on the PC version, so I don't think it's a Microsoft.
It's
only.
on both.
No, it's not.
Both versions of the HD collection too.
It's on the PC.
All right,
version
then maybe we will get one.
I think I feel like so many people are worried about it. It's like, folks, it's just still in development. That's all. Like, it's coming.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure
it's the same thing that happened with RE4 Remake Separate Ways.
Yeah, like
the game literally stops and goes, "Guess I'll see you on our separate ways," and people are like, "Oh my god, they're not making it."
Like,
Bride's here. You coming? think we both know this is where we go our separate ways.
Ah, he said it.
I see.
Yeah, like maybe they should have added an ending where where Maria said, "I was literally born from a wish," and then looks directly into the camera. Like, is that what you? And that probably wouldn't be enough. They would probably need a release date and like a wish list and pop up on screen.
Yeah, I
But
still have my fingers crossed. I'm like,
Yeah.
hopefully within a year we'll get it. You know.
I love that she comments on the house.
Is everything all right?
Yeah, it's just... This place... It just gives me the creeps. I'm not sure why.
You ever been inside?
I'm not sure. It does feel familiar somehow. Like a bad memory. It's nothing, really.
Yes,
Yeah.
that seemed to be the biggest clue. The fact that she's like, I don't like that place, you know, and refuses to cross the threshold of the gate. I thought that was a really nice touch to be like, hey, yeah, born from the wish, wink, wink, nod, nod, you know.
Or this could be a reference to the very first Silent Hill 2 release, which did not have Born from the Wish. Maybe they're just that faithful.
Oh man, damn.
Look at
You gotta buy a
that.
whole new. You gotta buy a whole new version of the game in stores.
Imagine if they actually did that though. It's not on Xbox yet.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
That might be a good time to release it then. Yeah.
So after a year, they put it on the Xbox and then be like, hey, you could buy the DLC here too.
The Xbox version will just like have Phil Spencer instead of Maria. Gaming.
All right,
Sorry.
we so last time we didn't really talk about the endings because some people didn't get them all. I assume everyone has seen all the endings now.
I have not. I don't mind. We could still talk about them.
Okay.
I have a vague idea about them. I just haven't had the time and energy to play the game over.
Okay, so in Silent Hill 2, they have all the endings from the previous one. I guess the greatest hits version and Xbox, including like the UFO ending. They also added 2 new ones called Bliss and Stillness. I was just wondering what you guys thought of Bloober's versions of extra endings. Did you enjoy them? Did you feel they fit in with the others? I really liked them.
Yeah, I did too. I think especially the Stillness one was really good. It kind of like caught me off guard by how cool I thought it was because I said that I think I messaged CJ like when I got it. I'm like, I actually can't believe they like acknowledged the Mary is in the back seat thing. Like I was like, wow, they actually did that. Because I always just assumed that was one of those things that Silent Hill fans get really hung up on needlessly. But I was like, oh wow, I guess, yeah, I think CJ, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you say that like for years Ito has been like, oh, she's in the back
Yeah.
seat?
Like instead of the trunk, like people were like, she's in the trunk. It's like, no, I think she's in the back seat. He would say that, and then they made it canon in the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can actually see a blanket in the back seat,
Yeah,
and
you
I
can.
think it's the same blanket that's on the couch in the apartment that I believe
Yep.
is supposed to be their apartment.
Yep. We talked. I think we talked a little bit about that when we were discussing the Labyrinth. But yeah, I like that we were able to see James and Mary's apartment and that blanket repeated in the back seat. Well, what I wanted to point out with the Stillness ending that I thought was a shame was Luke Roberts' acting in that scene. Oh my God, my heart. It was like the best part of that ending, and I wish it was something that more people could see, maybe in water, but it works so well for the Stillness. So in case people didn't get the ending, essentially it's like the in water ending, except you spend a longer time in the car, and he's talking to Mary, and she responds because she's a ghost of her, or maybe it's Maria, we don't know. Actually reaches out and like touches his face, and you could see her in the rear view mirror talking to him. it feels like a more complete version of In Water. And I've seen people argue whether or not he gets out of the car. Because she says, are you... he goes, will you wait for me? Like, maybe is she going to wait for him in heaven? And she's like, I'm always waiting for you. People swear that they hear the car door opening after he slams down on the gas to maybe give Mary a water burial in the lake, because she's always loved Silent Hill. And then he dives out of the car. I don't hear that, but that's like a fan theory that In
That would
Water...
ruin the moment so much if he
I
just like
think
jumped
so.
out of the. He's like, oh, I feel so guilty. I'm sorry. Jumps out of the fucking car. Psych.
I'm sorry.
Psych.
Well, no, they're trying to say that having that last like talk with
Mhm.
Mary gives him.
Hello?
It's October just posted
Oh.
a GIF in the general chat.
Sorry, I didn't mean to turn you off.
I'm not. I was CJ on this. Like,
Yeah.
that would be so fucking ridiculous if he just tucked and rolled out the fucking. He's like, see ya.
Okay.
I get.
See ya, bitch.
Like,
Wait, let me finish.
Like he's just like, I'm really sad, but fuck this.
No,
Mary's
what
sick, well, so am I.
I get
Yeah,
the idea. Like,
exactly.
it's a more hopeful version of the sad ending, and I could see. You could almost see it as being like, if he's been trapped in this loop and maybe has continued to choose water, maybe this is the time where he finally breaks the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get to see it a little
to
more,
say.
and why you can only get it on a second playthrough.
Yeah. So the thing was, I don't think he's supposed to be like doing a tuck and roll out of the car. It was more the fact that he's like, all right, talking with Mary, he's decided to give life another chance.
Yeah.
And stepping out of the car and making sure it like goes in the just
Brick on the pedal. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, like that.
I'm
just picturing him eating out of the car.
I actually like this now. I changed my mind. Like, this is actually fucking hilarious. It's so ridiculous. Like, I love. He's like
more comedy endings.
He's emotional all his life, and then he's about to say at the last second he's just fuck this and dips out.
She's like, I've already forgiven. He's like, all right, bet. Jumps out.
Yeah. Also, we're all in agreement with this in this scene that it's Mary, right? It's not Maria.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's Mary. Yeah.
Yeah, I
people,
think it is too.
People kind of thought maybe it was Maria because she had like a little like smirky smile, and they're like, we've never really seen her act like Maria, but there's elements of Mary in Maria. I can see her making similar, they did it. People are just thinking that maybe she was too like touchy, and
I feel like it's also just like little things like that, like her having a slight smile and everything is supposed to make you go like I just said we're in agreement it's Mary, but then like you think that, but maybe, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's the kind
very
of thing
ambiguous.
I'm so thrown off. I can't stop thinking of the fucking tuck and roll thing.
October, what did you do?
Like, why wouldn't he just like push the car and like put it like release the parking brake and just push it if that's what he wants to do?
Yeah,
Why would he?
That's the argument against it. People are like, well, why didn't they show him like stepping out of the car?
Make it ambiguous. It's Silent Hill. Yeah.
And was it raining in the original In Water in the In Water remake version?
I don't know.
I can't remember. It seemed like it was raining in stillness.
It was still raining in water.
Yeah.
Okay. It just seemed like more focus on the rain.
The only reason I literally pulled the video up as you said that. So.
Okay. Thank you for the reminder. So that was stillness, and to get that ending, you had to have already gotten In Water, and then you had to pick up the key in the green car on the way, to Silent Hill after you're walking near that little is it like a canal? I don't know what it is, but you're walking towards the flower shop. There's like a green car after you go under the overpass.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the key, and then you have to find in Silent Hill, there's like several notes. There's 3 notes, excuse me. where you'll find a note. You can't pick it up, but there'll be a red number on it. Hey, Whitney editing here, and wow, I completely misspoke on the locations of the numbers for the code. The first is in the Woodside Apartments reception area. The second is in the Otherworld Brookhaven Hospital, in the director's office in a small room in the corner. And the last number is in the Lakeview Hotel front desk area. You can then use the code and the key to open up a safe in the manager's office on the first floor after viewing the videotape. And you find in it a postcard of Toluca Lake, and it says, oh shit, what does it say? I am so sorry, I'm not prepared.
That's such a weird thing for the note to say.
Toluca. Hold on. Let me look this stillness ending.
I wish there was a note in Silent Hill that you picked up that just said, "Oh shit."
Speaking of Toluca, I'm enjoying my Silent Hill 2 blanket, which features Toluca Lake on it.
Oh,
It's a nice little fleece. It's very comfortable.
I really want the one of the map.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. I have the blanket for both 1 and 2.
Ooh.
I have a screen cap. So, and you open up the safe, and inside is a postcard of Toluca Lake, and the little subheading of it is Toluca Lake, a place you'll always return to. And if you get that postcard in your inventory, it will supersede any other like item. Even if you have like the ritual items in your inventory, it's like, nah, you got the postcard. You'll get stillness, and I thought that was cool. You'll always return to. It's like it's water ending times 2. I thought that was neat.
So there's always like, is there like a hierarchy to the endings? Because I've been working on a second playthrough, and I think I picked up the items to all of them.
Yeah, you can get like all of the endings on a second playthrough, like easy.
As long as your first playthrough was in water. That's the only one that has a tie to a previous ending.
Oh, so I'm definitely getting stillness.
Yeah, you can get stillness on your second playthrough as long as you pick up that key in the beginning and then have the code and then open it up in the hotel. So Bliss is the other new ending. It takes it kind of in a different direction. James is still in denial, and he decides to basically get high as fuck watching the videotape in room 312, and he suddenly enters the videotape, and basically we get to see the end of the videotape. We don't see him murdering Mary. We see her going through taping again, and then he walks in and gives her a hug and whatnot. But the fun thing is that he still has his flashlight and stuff, and he still looks kind of wrecked. So
yeah,
it's
he's like sucked into this other place.
Yeah, this other world, like TV. Like, is this just a restart of his loop where he's went all the way back to the start of Mary's illness? And then he has to go through that again, and then he revisits Silent Hill. It's just a weird kind of thing to think about. And for this particular ending, all you need to do
is have some milk of magnesia.
Yes. All you need to do is your second playthrough, you have to find the note at the end of Nathan Avenue. It gives you a number, and it's 1887. And you bring that number to Pete's Bolorama, and you can open up a safe that's in the place where you get your shoes and stuff. There's a safe there. You open it up, and inside is another note and a small key that you have to pick up. And then you find a box in the garden in Brookhaven that you could pick up, and you use that key to open it up, and inside is this old-ass bottle of White Claudia. And he basically decides, you know what? I'm about to watch a movie. I'm going to sit down and, drink this, and we'll see what happens. And you'll get the ending.
I've never felt so seen.
So, I really did like how Bloober Team hinted at how to get all the endings this time around, even like the special ones. So they did move areas that you have to use items in for like UFO, and the dog key now has like 2 parts. So So I guess I'll go into this. So when you enter town, you can go into Andy's bookstore, and it gives you little pages, little paragraphs, kind of like they did in the original game, about how to go about getting the non-jokey endings, right? Like the Maria and the leave and in water endings. It's like, hey, this is this flowery paragraph about how you go to do that, you know. And then for UFO and dog, you'll find like little posters in town. Like I believe there's a poster in Groovy Music for UFO about lights in the sky, and then it lists like 3 things you need to do. Like, hey, use this item. This item's found in a local jewelry store or whatever, and then you have to use it on top of the apartment building, and it kind of like lists it in a fun way. I'm so sorry I didn't take a screen cap of the posters, but I'll put a picture in it. And like the dog ending, you go into the pet store, which is now open in the pet center, and you go in and you find a note about this weird dog that they found, a stray dog that unnerves this cashier person, and you find a part of a key that's a bone, and and then you have to find another one in the doghouse. Little things like that. I liked how they used the environment in world to give you hints for these extra endings without, like, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Spoon feeding.
Handhold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you could still discover it on your own. Within just the game, you don't have to just depend on a guide or whatever telling you. There's more hints to how to get them, more so than in the original game, where you were just blindly using an item in every area hoping to get the UFO ending type of thing. Yeah.
The dog ending one, not only do they add the pet stop, there's also, like, in a bar nearby, there's a poster on the table that I don't think was there before, talking about, you know, find your pet. Like, all those little things where I was just like, oh my god. It was so cool.
It's like, yeah, this is a clear, like, hey, Whitney, you could get this ending by doing this. I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, they did it with all of them. There's one for the UFO, too.
That was in Groovy Music.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't even notice that the UFO ending had, like, hints to where to use it, because I didn't even put that together at all.
Yeah, so the game actually tells you what you need to do in a cryptic way, but still something you can figure out on your own. What kind of annoyed me was when I was going in my stillness reveal run on my stream, I looked up a guide. I'm like, okay, I know I have to get this key, and I know I have to open this safe. All the guides were just like, here's the code. And it's like, well, where did you get the code? None of the guides explained it, and I made a post on Twitter like, hey, how are you supposed to find this code? And people were very helpful, saying, oh, it's written down in red on these particular notes. I was like, oh, okay. So you could still, I mean, I think the stillness is probably the hardest one to get if you have no idea where to look for that code. Yeah. As for the other endings, I mean, they went how the original game went in terms of how they panned out. I did like for Leave, you saw a little bit more interaction with him and Laura, him like coming up to her and her being a little bit scared of him, and then coaxing her to come with him, waking up Maria in Heaven's Night. Like he returned there. It's like, oh, how do you know? I like those little touches. The only thing I was disappointed in was I was really hoping the ritual, we'd see him maybe carrying Mary's body to the church on the island. I was really hoping we'd get a closer look at that. But
did you see that they like actually fully modeled the building?
I did.
As opposed to it just being like a poster, like in the original?
Yeah.
Especially since Maria brings up the actual story about the woman in the waiting for the dude to come and get her. Like, it would be nice to like bring that all together. Yeah, I thought, I mean, all the original endings are essentially the same. Like, I guess the dog ending's like a little bit different, but it's more or less the same thing. I do like that James just pulls out his gun this time rather than just like wanders up. But yeah, no, I think especially the new endings, they almost in both cases they felt like a logical extension of like kind of stuff that was already there. Like it wasn't like something completely out of left field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we kind of went past Bliss very fast. I want to throw out, that's my favorite ending now. It made a huge impact on me when I got it, and I love it because it feels like, I don't know, the ultimate form of denial. That like he won't even like, because the town's trying to coax him towards the truth, and it's just him outright saying, "No, I want to live in this fantasy now." And like maybe a part of him will always know. He seems to kind of hesitate there at the end of the video, but it's like the spinning top from Inception. Who cares if it's real or not?
Yeah,
it's one of the. It's
Really
also
cool stuff.
It's also kind of interesting that like we've never seen like the happy life that James and Mary had
I know.
at any point. Like we never saw that before. And like yeah, obviously this is him in denial and it's not really he's happy, but you know what I mean? Like we've never seen that dynamic between the two characters before, which was really interesting.
And it's sweet, and it's just this kind of like, knowing this character for 20 years, it is kind of like heartbreaking to get to see him and Mary be happy for once.
Yeah.
It's part of why the joke ending in Downpour kind of made a big impact on me back in the day, because it's like, oh my god, these characters are happy. They're having a good time for once.
And they're going to have cake.
Bliss. Yeah, they're going to have cake.
Yeah, it definitely threw me when I was going for the Bliss. I knew I was going to get the new ending. I had no idea what to expect. And he drank the White Cloudy and sat down. I'm like, okay, we're going to see him get... Wait, what? Oh, we're going to actually see the end of this videotape. This is nice. Nice context to see the end of their stay in Lakeview Hotel. And it's not like Mary getting a pillow to the face.
I also like the touch of James disappearing into the tape, and they brought back the original camera angle from.
Yeah. I all I wanted was Laura to run in. That didn't happen.
James, where are you, you big bitch?
I wanted her to run in, like, where'd he go? Type of thing.
She did drop more fart faces this time, so there definitely should have been a fart face ending. Whatever that entails.
Yeah, I'm makes me somewhat like hopeful for the Born from a Wish, and maybe we'll get like another alternate ending. Like maybe you can change Maria's fate. Like maybe Ernest can convince her that James is a bad man. Don't waste your time trying to seduce him, because she's made by the town from his wish, but she had sentience, and it wasn't until she left that mansion and she started going, James, she lost her agency in that moment. I'm wondering if like you can stop that from happening, where she's still her own person and not just desperately clinging to this man who frankly doesn't deserve it. I think it'll be neat.
She goes with Eddie this time.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
He shows up with a pink ice cream dried on one hand. No woman can resist that, right?
Well, I mean, James showed up with poop all over his other hand.
That's you know what? That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela then.
Yeah.
But,
they run away together.
but yeah, all of the new, or both the new endings were great, and I think the spirit of the old ones was preserved well.
I remember how like scared people were when they learned that there was going to be new endings.
Whatever happened to the origin ending that GameStop leaked by accident on their product listing page? Remember that?
Origin ending?
Oh yeah, they said discover the origins of a certain character. Blah blah blah.
It was Pyramid Head.
The origins of Pyramid Head. And
yeah.
I forgot.
What was that?
It was them trying to be flowery about this being Pyramid Head's first appearance, but people misunderstood it and went apeshit. And I think Konami actually had to put out a statement like refuting it, and it was like the first time Konami had like publicly said anything about the game in months. It was very funny timing.
Wow, I think I missed that.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, I mean,
there was just so
often-
much controversy about anything and everything before this game released that it's all kind of a blur in my mind.
Yeah,
Like,
everything was a problem. Do y'all remember the ESRB's description of things and how the ESRB like completely misinterpreted half the game?
No.
Nope.
The ESRB lists like sexual content at one point, and it's like references to sexual activity, i.e., a character references a videotape made in a hotel. It's like, oh, okay.
Well,
I know the ESRB didn't play the games they rated, but okay.
I didn't get that ending.
I mean, the only like real sexual
ending. What?
there's a secret ending, guys. Maria, James, honeymoon ending. I mean, there's sexual references, of course, in Heaven's Night, and then when you go to the motel, Maria like talks about it. You know, people getting it on with the thin walls, but
That's that's what ESRB ratings are like that though. Like that's literally the point of them. Like it just says like they are alluding to something here. I feel like I saw something recently it's like when you see a game where it says like rated M, alcohol use, partial nudity and stuff, and it's like, oh, some character showing like a little bit of skin or something, and that's it.
Swearing and smoking.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wouldn't take that as any sort of signifier of something in the game.
So we talked about the endings. Oh, we didn't really talk about our thoughts on this new soundtrack. The 9 hours of new music and whatnot, or reworked music Kira has put out. It's been put on Spotify. I have not actually listened to
Not yet either.
I feel like this is going to be a hot take, but I would actually say anything that was new music was great. But anything that was the older tracks, I prefer the older versions, like by a lot, actually.
I was gonna say that because I did listen to the new theme of Laura, and it just sounded like he was adding in a lot of unnecessary
orchestra type of stuff.
Yeah, they're a little overly complicated now.
Yeah, that's really about it. I'm sorry, people who are looking forward to maybe a soundtrack discussion, but I liked what I heard in the game. There wasn't too often I was brought out of like a scene or anything because I felt it was too much. But just listening to the theme, I was like, okay, calm down, type of thing.
None of it was bad at all. It's just like it was kind of like in the last
overproduced.
Yeah, it was I think it was kind of the same feeling I had, or I think all of us had last episode about the new Mary Maria acting, where it's like not bad, but I just really prefer the old version.
Yeah, but it's
really
fine.
kind of leaned more into that rocky, his rocky roots. And the series kind of got more rock influenced. 3 definitely, and 4, more of a rock influence, and I think that shows on the new soundtrack. I actually have the vinyl on the way, in the mail right now, but I did listen to the full new soundtrack, on YouTube.
Wait, there's
and
a vinyl version of the new.
Yeah, right. Is there?
Yeah, there's a CD. Yeah, there's a CD. Well, so I don't know what's on YouTube. I guess that's just the digital version. But on I think it's PlayAsia. There's or some site in Japan. You can only get the soundtrack physically from Japan right now.
You're talking about the CD. You're not talking about a vinyl.
I think there's a vinyl for it.
No.
Let me check, but...
Oh no, you got CD.
No, you got a CD. Because if there was a vinyl, I would have.
Whitney would have got it. Trust you would.
I would have.
You would have got 4 of them, all right?
Maybe I misspoke, but anyway, so I listened to the new soundtrack on YouTube, and I liked what I heard. but it made me want to immediately listen to the old one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just echoing what Kyle and everyone else said, but yeah, the theme of Laura is like, and maybe it's just we've been listening to it for so long, we've kind of steadily lost objectivity. I imagine new people who haven't heard the song that are playing the game for the first time would probably think it's really good, but just like the
Yeah,
voice
nostalgia
acting,
and
it's
familiarity with us, I think.
yeah,
It's
yeah, but just like the voice acting, it's just not quite the same, and it changes the tone of different scenes and the game as a whole. So yeah, it's
it's
just
one of
different.
I want to throw out perhaps a hot take amidst all this. I really loved the new score, and if anything, it kind of took me out of it when there was a track that wasn't really changed. I
Like
like the
Alone
new
in the Town?
arrangements. Huh?
Like the Alone in the Town in the
Yeah,
cinema?
the big one for me was it's not white noise. It's whatever is the one that plays right after James, like as James is looking in the mirror, that very drony piece of music there. It's like identical to the PS2 version, and the rest of the track sounds so much more acoustic, whereas that track is so distinctly synthetic that it like something about it feels like weird to me. Everything else feels updated, but tracks like that, where it's basically just identical, it's like, don't remind me of the old one. The old one is the old one, and this is the new one. And I really like the new one, and I'll listen to the old one when I feel like listening to the old one.
Mary. Mary.
I don't think one is better than the other, but it always kind of took me out of it when there was a track that he didn't really do a whole lot to.
I'm
That
trying to
said,
picture
I
this.
do
Is this in the observation deck opening?
the the piece of music that plays when he's like looking at himself in the mirror.
the
The
very
opening.
start of the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's okay. I'm trying to remember. Okay.
I know
'Cause
I
there's
know
a
the track
piece of
you're
music
talking
that
about.
plays, and then it goes into another one, and then it goes into the music while he's talking about Maria or Mary's
Oh,
letter.
okay. I'll have to listen
I'll
again.
I'll I'll,
Maybe I
I'll
didn't
just go
notice.
find it real quick since I'm talking about it.
Sorry, I just want to make sure so I put in an example.
Yeah, let
What
me
you're
find it
talking
real
about.
quick.
But yeah, I understand the point there. I mean, it seems like I think we have all this familiarity and like mental associations with the old one, so I can kind of understand wanting to just hear the new one with the new game.
Yeah, fair. I think, I mean, nostalgia is always going to be a factor, but I kind of agree with Whitney that I do think like Theme of Laura feels a little bit overproduced towards the end, where there's like lots of like MIDI like orchestra stuff, and
Yeah.
and I don't think it's bad at all, because if truthfully like it sounds like a lot of the new soundtrack sounds like the concerts that Ito or that Kira puts on, to me, like
Mhm.
those renditions. Like again, I don't think they sound bad at all. It's just there is something
Less is more sometimes.
yeah, like we don't need a 64 string orchestra
It
to
doesn't need to be the epic version all the
yeah
time.
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah, that's probably like my
Um,
only. That's funny because I would have never guessed that would be one of the things that like again there was nothing I flat out disliked in this remake. I've thought about that a lot, even since the last podcast. There was nothing I was like, Probably maybe like the closest thing I didn't like was the elevator game show thing. I just think that one is just like almost just a big step down from the old one.
And also dog ending taking away our buff James. Come on.
Yeah,
that's true.
They could've-
I did just as I'm going through YouTube trying to find the track I'm talking about. I will say I don't really like the new Heaven's Night. It sounds like porn music.
Maybe
Oh,
that's
with the way
idea.
with the way
Got
it
this,
opens.
it's like, oh.
I didn't even notice that. Now I want to go see it. But
It's one of my favorite tracks from the original, and now it sounds like cheesy 70s porno music. It's like, I get it, it's a strip club, but
I forgot that they didn't give us new buff James. You're right, Whitney. That's a travesty.
Yeah, I was really, that was like the thing I was looking forward to.
Honestly,
someone did make him though.
Yep.
A fan did, and they put a Minmo like
Is that a
tattoo
mod
in his
yet?
arm.
Oh,
We need that as a mod if it's
I
not
know.
already.
yes, thank God, we need buff James.
But that was the thing I was looking forward to with the credits, to see the kind of the little goofy pictures and whatnot, and they just didn't do it. And I was like, dang it!
When are they gonna finally make the mod equivalent of the Resident Evil 2 mod with Mr. X in the bikini? When are they gonna do that for Pyramid Head?
Oh, it's done.
It's done?
Yeah, when I shared those other mod photos, I came across. There are some sexual mods already, of course. That's just how it
Yeah,
goes.
there's like naked
Yeah.
James, there's naked Pyramid Head, there's James as Pyramid Head being naked. Yeah.
So now you can fulfill your deepest fantasies of seeing naked James jump out of his cup.
There's thick lying figures. That's
Oh my
people go
God.
crazy.
Why are people like this?
I sent it to October earlier. Just thick lying figure. She's got some big hips. It's pretty great.
Yeah, that's the William. Yeah, that's the fan made version, and it's hilarious. I'm like, why didn't we get this in the game? Come on.
And I just checked my soundtrack order. It is a CD. I don't know what I was. I've been ordering a lot of vinyl lately. There's it's not official, but there's a Silent Hill 2 piano collection. A collection.
Yeah,
of
that's
songs.
final.
Yeah, that's not an official Konami product.
We're just fantasizing about a vinyl version.
I'm sure they're gonna
Yeah,
put it out.
eventually,
It'll happen. Like that's a
Mondo probably has the. They've been doing the regular one, so maybe they'll be doing that.
I'm hoping they'll put something out. I guess
also.
that.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they could have so easily done Buff James, because, like, I don't know if y'all have seen Luke Roberts, but they could have just literally gotten him to do the body double for that one.
Yeah.
Man is ripped.
He is jacked.
It'd be hilarious if they even like took a photo and left that, no modding the character at all. Just put a photo of him in it.
Yeah, put it in Heaven's Night in the Lost and Found box with this ring. So that, I guess that we're talking about like a vinyl. It kind of leads into a little bit. I wanted to kind of go into pre-order stuff and how the U.S. really got nothing. We got like absolutely no physical pre-order bonuses in this country. But we did get a line from GameStop, including like a controller, mouse pad, controller holder thing. But we missed out on pre-order bonuses. Everybody else were offered like a steelbook. They were offered little acrylic, at least in Japan, acrylic figures and great knife pens and stuff. And Whitney is so glad that she spent months and months and months saving.
Can I
was
just
able
say,
to
fuck Game?
yes,
Fuck that store so much.
Game UK. So they were the only European game store that was willing to ship internationally for the Steelbook, and they fucked up. They did not ship out the Steelbooks to people who actually pre-ordered. Instead, they shipped them to stores, and they were giving them out to people who were buying the game. So people like me and CJ were not able to. Eddie, I see you just posted the naked pyramid head.
I did. Can I add to that, though, is that not only did they fuck up with the stock shortages, they also confirmed. They said, okay, we shipped your main order. The Steelbook is confirmed. It is coming to you later. Here's your confirmation email. Separate confirmation email for that. No, it didn't matter because it wasn't coming. And you had to contact them to find out that it was actually canceled after the fact. And then they want to offer a £5 voucher. It's like, sorry, here's £5. Again, this is only after you contact them because they won't tell you otherwise. And then I'm like, what is £5 going to do for me? It's an international order. Can I return it? They did start to allow people to return them, but for whatever reason they told me, so it's not even consistent with what they're telling their customers. Because someone else I know was offered a refund without a window of time, but they said you could return it within 28 days of receipt. I'm like, I'm in America. It's going to cut it real fucking close, and you took this long to tell me that, to offer me that option. So game, fuck them, never importing anything through them ever again.
Yeah.
And now, people like us are out of luck with the Steelbook because they cost a shit ton of money on eBay, even though, we thought we were going to get in there early and actually secure this thing, but nope, it's done.
Yeah.
So
I
initially,
was super disappointed.
Game.uk was only doing UK orders. I got somebody in the UK to do a pre-order then, and then once the American order started, I was like, should I cancel the first one and just make a new one, or should I leave it and then do another one just as a backup? So that's what I actually did. I left my original UK order. It was still an online UK order. It wasn't an in-store order. But then I also made one to ship to America. Well, my friend in the UK got the game and the Steelbook. He got them separately, but he did get the Steelbook. So he sent those to me. But then, CJ, I had the same issue with the American version where I got the UK game, the case, but I didn't get the Steelbook. But I did get the email about, it's coming and blah, blah, blah. And I think it wasn't really until I started talking to you about, like, well, it's been 5 weeks. Have you gotten your Steelbook yet? And we were both like, nope, not yet. And then it came out that they had, canceled it, and you were trying to get a voucher at that point, I believe.
Yeah, it's such a clusterfuck, and it's upsetting because the Steelbook looks really, really cool, and the fact that we didn't have a special edition whatsoever kind of made it like, oh, I really want that at least. Mm-hmm. Like, I really hope they reprint them. I don't see what purpose they would do. I mean, like, put them on the Konami store. I don't care. I'd buy them separately.
Yeah, why would Game.uk cancel them? They just didn't want to make more?
I think they probably had a very limited order. I think it was probably, a couple thousand? And then it was supposed to be distributed just to pre-order people. But then, whatever reason, they must have shipped it to retail stores instead of whatever warehouse that was supposed to handle online orders.
Yep. Because people who were just walking in, they were the ones that got the Steelbooks, and then now jacking up the price.
So, Whitney, you don't have one at all?
No, I have one.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Did you go through eBay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, but, maybe you should look out, because Santa might have sent you something.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas miracle.
I honestly had no idea any of this had happened. It's almost just like
drama.
I think that's a valid thing to get mad about too.
Yeah, I was.
That's an incredibly shitty situation.
And then it's
the one time Silent Hill fans have a legitimate complaint.
Yeah. I mean, I was already disappointed we weren't getting a collector's edition. And then I was doubly disappointed when every other country was getting some sort of cool pre-order bonus, and all I had in America was I could play the game 2 days free for a digital copy. Yeah. I was disappointed.
I did the early day thing because it just so happened to be the same day as my YouTube anniversary, and it felt like the stars had aligned, and I couldn't not do it. But I really hate the fact that I don't have a physical copy of the game.
You can still get it.
Yeah,
Certainly,
but
Yeah, if I
yeah.
had gotten my second steelbook, I would have given it away to somebody. But
it's unfortunate that like so much of the industry in general is just like completely going away from physical media at this point. Just in
Yeah.
general, like it's just even a lot of the
It's
times when
just
you
the
get
fear of things just disappearing. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like even a lot of the times when you get a physical copy of something, it's just like all you're getting is like a launcher essentially. And
Yeah.
like
ET
Yeah.
half of
trauma.
the rest.
It's or just a cardboard disc with a code printed on it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's why.
Yes.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I hate that.
That's why I'm always like so thankful for fans doing the emulation stuff, because a lot of times things will get taken away, and if it's
Yeah.
not for quote unquote piracy, we would have lost access to
Yeah,
certain
I mean,
things.
I mean it. I mean, it's like I said last time. Like, for as much as I love the remake, like I still think it's ridiculous that you cannot buy the original game anywhere.
Yeah.
On a
Uh,
modern platform.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can buy it off eBay or something, but like
especially when
it's
compared to Metal Gear, which is the exact opposite, same era of games, but you can play every Metal Gear, even the MSX. Was it? Yeah, the MSX versions that were only on Japanese computers. You can play those on modern systems, but you can't play
Yeah.
the original
Yeah, I think
Silent
my
Hill 1
brother
through
just
4.
got those Metal Gear ones, but I think Japan had Silent Hill 4 for a while on PSN, but like everything else
Yeah.
is
It was
Yeah.
no,
Japan. It was Japan only, right, for PS3 for the
yeah, I made a
Silent
special
Hill
PS3,
4.
account
yeah.
just to look for it.
it
Yeah.
shouldn't be, and like
Mm-hmm.
it shouldn't be the case where media that helped shape your life is like so hard to find again, and people
Yeah.
can say download, like get a physical PlayStation copy or something, but like I, okay, I don't have a PS2 anymore. I don't know what to
Yeah,
tell
it's
you.
it's it
Yeah.
is an incredibly unhelpful answer to just be like, just go buy a PS2 version. And I also think it's unhelpful to say just pirate it. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I used to
Not everybody.
I don't feel comfortable doing that. Like people will
Yeah.
say you pirate the games. I'm like, I don't know.
like
I mean,
personally, if they refuse to sell it, then it's 100% okay to pirate it.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's just that's not a helpful answer to a lot of people though. I used to be exclusively Mac. The fuck am I supposed to do with a Mac? It's
Yeah, and
I
then
really
just
hope
so many people can't access it at all. I mean, I still
yeah.
have my old systems and stuff, but so many like new people cannot.
and
Yeah.
like the simple fact of the matter is, and like people talk about this with games preservation in general, but like that old hardware, no matter how well built it was, it's not going to last forever either.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
And also disc rot is
I was
going
about
to
to say
eventually
disc
play
rot.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Disc
disc
rot.
rot. It's yeah, I still stand by that. I don't think any of those old games should be hard to track down. They're all important.
Mm-mm.
I'm
Because
hoping
can you even play Silent Hill 1 anywhere right now? Like
The
PS3
on a,
PS3. Yeah, PS3 digital.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I have it on
I
PS3 and PSP.
I don't want to like make everyone's back suddenly hurt, but PS3 is a retro console now too.
Oh yeah.
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 So
I
like
still
I'm
look
not.
up though.
Oh, it still works and everything. It's more just like there's no reason why this stuff should be so hard to track down.
Why can't they
really
put Silent Hill
hoping
1
not
on PlayStation 5? Why not? Come on.
It's I don't like.
Where's the
I
Master
could
Collection?
go off about the fucking the PlayStation's classics catalog and it being like 5 Worms games and like a couple of other things and all the things that people
Legacy
consider
of Kain
classics
is
aren't
getting
there.
a remaster 1 and 2.
Yeah.
That was a famous PlayStation 1 game, So it's
And-
like
But,
people want these games. People will pay money for these games. Just bring them back out.
I
yeah,
need
I'm
some
really
like
hoping that maybe the MGS Master Collection sold well and Konami can be like, oh, money. Like, I mean, the MGS Master Collection did fuck all. Like, they're the most basic bitch. They're barely even HD, and like they run at 30. They did barely anything, and personally, good enough for things that old. Good enough. At least
I'm
it's
pretty
playable.
sure they're making a second one. They've
Yeah,
heavily hinted
they've
at
already.
it.
They keep teasing it, and
it's
it's happening. Yeah, it does say
it's more-
Volume 1 on the box, so
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just unfortunate. Like it shouldn't have to come down to either you play the remake or you don't play it. Like I know
Yeah.
some people look at it that way, and like I kind of understand the frustration, but it's more just like, yeah, these things shouldn't be thrown in the dumpster. Like they shouldn't just
remakes
vanish.
are not replacements. You wouldn't
Yeah.
say that about a movie. You shouldn't say it about a
Correct.
game.
Yeah, no one says like, well, no one watches the hold on, I can't remember that. Nobody says don't watch like the original The Thing, as in like the old black and white one, just
Don't
because the
watch
John
John
Carpenter.
Carpenter's Halloween. Rob Zombie did it right. It replaces it.
Yeah. It's
Well, even good remake,
Nightmare on Elm Street
even good
2010
remake.
for life.
Art should not just be binned, is basically
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it does seem like some people have that like attitude, like, oh, it's, we don't need to. I saw some people have said, like in my Discord, that they tried to get their friends. These are younger people, obviously. They're trying to get their friends to play like the OG Silent Hill 2, and for them, they're just like, no, I don't like this gameplay, and so they're just like, no, I'll just play the remake, and that makes me a little bit sad that just its gameplay itself, outdated gameplay, can really be a hurdle
I get that.
for some of these older games, and it's sad to see, but honestly, it's understandable. If you didn't grow up playing those types of games, I can
I love
see
my
it
tank
being...
controls.
Yeah. The thing about video games is that they, like any medium, they evolve. But the problem is, because they are so technological, they evolve at a much more rapid pace. And so comparing a PS1 game from the 90s to a PS5 game from today is almost like comparing a modern Stephen King novel with Shakespeare. And you wouldn't tell a high schooler that both of these things are the same, and you'll have the same trouble reading them or ease reading them, because the further back you go, the more harder it is to reach these things, to understand the cultural context, to understand the change in language, and video games is the same thing. And that's part of why I really like the remake as the remake as a concept, because it does something to make something that is very inaccessible, even if it wasn't actually physically inaccessible. It is also just culturally inaccessible because of how much games have evolved. And now that story is available in a framework that modern kids can play, and it is more relatable to them. On the other hand, streaming keeps the old alive. Yeah. And I live for streaming. I love streaming. I'm really glad that is still a big thing. And I think video games as an artistic medium will continue to survive because older folks will continue to stream the games that they loved and grew up on.
Yeah, that's one thing I always loved was, even before like streaming is so like mainstream now, Let's Plays from back in the day, like going from just the screenshot Let's Plays to the video Let's Plays, it's like, because of those, a lot of younger folks felt like they grew up with the game, even though they didn't really play it themselves. And it always comes down to fans. Like, fans can keep a series alive when the company is just like, fuck you. Yep. I don't think Konami would have returned to Silent Hill if we weren't so rabid about how much we loved the series, because it wasn't being shown in their what's the word I'm looking for? Their sales figures. Yeah. The sales figures of the series, because
I think compared like Rule of Rose or something too, because like I watched Whitney play that.
Yeah,
and like I didn't play it myself.
Like it wasn't showing in their sales figures, because Silent Hill never really sold a lot. I mean, there's some outliers, like Silent Hill 1, I think, was the best-selling Silent Hill game until maybe the remake now. But the fandom was always like, this game is so good, and coming back to the game and revisiting it. And now, like Silent Hill 2, when it came out, people didn't like it at first, and it's only years later, fans coming back and showing it to the world, that it got sort of like a new life online, where the younger generation can watch these Let's Plays. They don't have to play it, and they still enjoy it. And I think our reaction to it over the years is what convinced Konami to give it another shot. Like, hey, we have a moneymaker here. All this nostalgia for this game that no one really played.
And then they were vindicated when the remake did so well financially, because it hit $1 million in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think part of that's the streaming and the success is an evolution of what we were doing as kids, where I was the person that played Silent Hill and all my friends watched. None of them wanted
Yeah.
to play.
Yeah.
And so you think about, there's always been a big fan for horror, but maybe not everybody was buying it. But now, because of streaming, like it's just helped so much to make these games successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's
as for the evolution, though, I just think of when I first bought my PS2 and my copy of SH2, the original one, I was just blown away by the graphics because, I had been playing Silent Hill 1 on PS1. So, yeah, it's just
it's
the
also
same thing for new people.
yeah. Some games also age much better than others.
Yes.
I feel like Silent Hill 2, like it's kind of funny. I saw there's a YouTuber I really like called Neryl, and he did a review of the remake, and he brought up that the Resident Evil over the shoulder camera almost works better. Is actually like a because like when the Resident Evil 2 remake came out, some people were really disappointed that it didn't have fixed camera angles, and uh, that's a whole other discussion. But like there was something different, very different about how those old Resident Evil games played compared to the remakes of them. Like that perspective changes a lot. But with Silent Hill, like the camera was always like it was only sort of fixed. It was like I'm sure you all remember like the moments where like the camera would just fucking
Yes.
wild, go all over the place. Like
Yeah.
the
Hello, Brookhaven Hospital and nurses like hitting me in the face.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was still what most of the time the camera was behind James or Harry or Heather. So logically, like the over the shoulder makes lots of sense. So like that's an example of like okay, this modernization like really like clicks and works with what was there already, and it's but yeah, there's to say like I said it in the last one, I still prefer the original Silent Hill 2. I always will. No matter what this was, I was always gonna still prefer the original. I love the remake. Nothing like I said, the most amazing thing about it is I can't think of a thing I hate. There's nothing I hated, which is I know that sounds like a wild, maybe not the best way to phrase it, but there was nothing I was like, oh no, like this was great. This was the first time since 2003 that I felt like I was really playing Silent Hill, like the one that
Yeah.
I really loved. And
Yeah.
that's not even dogging on the other games. It's just those first three games had a very certain feel, and this one was the first game since then that had that same feel, where it felt like the town is like sentient, where it's like you can feel this presence, and that was what I was so thankful for. But yeah, again, like
No, I understand that
there's
completely. Yeah.
there's no reason why like those old games should just vanish, and like we're lucky that we have people like the that's what I was gonna bring up. We're lucky we have the enhanced edition team, and I thought it was so cool that in all of Bloober's promotional materials, when they showed the original, they showed the enhanced edition.
Yeah.
So they were clearly fans of the enhanced edition team, and there was even they even put in the remake, they even had a cord from the fridge in the hospital.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the the first
Oh, we
podcast.
did. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay.
No. It's fine. It's fine bringing it up again. I did like that. The enhanced edition tweeted, "If you know, you know," with the cord.
Yep.
Because I remember the controversy. Oh, because one of my friends worked on it, and he put the cord in, and the
I remember
their reaction from some of the fan base was like, "How dare you do that? You're destroying the team's original art and
destroying the entire game there."
Yeah.
people making whole ass videos about a fridge cord. Like, go drink some water. Anyways.
Some grass.
Yeah, I mean, Silent Hill 2, the original game, is always like, yeah, that is Silent Hill 2 to me, which is, again, I bring this up every time, but that's why I like the loop theory with this being a sequel to the original. That is still the original experience.
Yep, that's
and
why
this is just if you pick the wrong ending, you know.
I mean, there's something just cool. Go ahead.
Sorry,
what?
go ahead, Tom.
I was just gonna say there's something inherently cool about, just there's something fitting because I have really complicated feelings about James in general. I won't go.
Yeah.
And there is something about like, yeah, like no matter what he did, like after the fact, no matter how he felt, no matter all the things he went through, he still killed his terminally ill wife with a pillow. And
Yeah.
there is something about like, maybe eternity in this shithole is kind of what he deserved. Anyways.
I did see before William, I did see on Twitter some people are getting mad that other people are woofying or whatever James and
Babifying?
Think
Baby
yeah.
girlfying?
Yeah, and that some people are just too what was it? That they have too much hatred for this character. Like they don't understand. I think I saw it on a tweet at Voidburger because she was playing through it. She actually really enjoyed the remake. And she said that someone pointed out in the chat, like she kept like cracking these mean jokes about James, and they're like, "Why are you being so mean to him?" Like why do you have this hatred? And it's like because we've sat with this for like 20 something years, and we were able to. What he did
is evil.
Yeah,
I think this is just my opinion, and like who knows what those viewers are, but like some of them I imagine are like teenagers who don't know any, but you know what I mean? Like it's like they don't know any better yet.
Well, it reminds me.
I do think that there's a fair amount of people that don't care.
Yeah,
he's not a real person, so
who
gives a shit?
I have to say right here, I have heard the entire gamut, including that Mary wasn't murdered because the moment she was terminally ill, she was already dead. Like, yikes.
Ooh,
and that, and
she also yelled at James. She yelled at him.
Yeah, so that makes her, she was mean while she was dying, so, and one of them recently was something like James is a hero, like it just coming back at me for normal critiques of this character that you're not supposed to like. There's a difference between liking a fictional character and liking in the sense of I believe they were wronged or that they were right. Like the whole narrative is about how he was wrong. That doesn't mean you can't like his character. Just admit the point of the narrative.
Calling him a hero is a bit extreme,
It's the classic.
He's not a hero.
It's the classic. People always bring up like Walter White or like Deadpool or more recently Paul Atreides. Like you miss the. You can. There's a difference between finding a character fascinating and liking them and thinking they are good or they are you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's a big difference.
Yeah, and I think part of it comes from a lot of teenagers probably, and this like very shallow understanding of real world ideas and different things where because Mary acted abusive in some ways, that makes her an abuser, and James is defending himself from his abuser, not understanding the deeper context of terminal illness and the kind of things that happen in the real world when you have a spouse that is dying, and just the idea that somehow, that surface level critique of, oh, well, he was the victim. No, he was not.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Guy Seehee even said that, like, oh, Mary was mean to James. He's the victim. Do you remember that comment?
Wait, who, Whitney? I only know I only know Luke Roberts. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I did want to say, what I find fascinating is when I first played the game, I was like, oh, he did it for the, like, quote unquote, I guess, right reason. He didn't want to see her suffer, like, kind of like she was really at the end of rope and she was in pain and she wanted to end. And I was just hoping that it wasn't for a selfish reason, that it was more like he wanted to do it for her. But the older I got, the more I realized that no, that's not the case. That was me looking at it. Was not a mercy killing. It was I'm tired of you, and I want you out of the way type of. I'm tired of dealing with this frustration.
This is very personal to me, and it informs a lot of how I feel about the game as someone that has taken care of 2 terminally ill people in my life. James, as a narrative, the story itself reflects the real world experience of being so destroyed by caretaking that all you want is for it to be over. You don't
Mhm.
necessarily want them dead. You don't necessarily want, like, you just want it to
To
stop.
be done, yeah.
And then to me, Silent Hill 2 is ultimately, zoom out, a critique of American society at large that fails these people who need help. And in one respect, it was James and Mary who needed more help. They didn't have support. Something was
Yeah,
missing
where
there.
was Frank? Frank, stop being obsessed about that
Yeah.
umbilical cord and go help your son
Yeah.
take care of his wife.
Like, that is, to me, and depending on how you interpret the narrative, you can go in the direction of he meant well, he meant ill, but I think the root of the story begins with he was a caretaker who snapped.
Yeah, he got
American
frustrated.
healthcare system.
It's one of those things, I've always said that I think if we're gonna say there's a thesis or a thesis to these games, or like specifically this game, I think like you see it in all of the characters, every single one of them. It's like it's really dangerous to suppress really powerful emotions, and you see it come out in every character in this. And whenever people say like James is a victim and whatnot, that's definitely not true. But then there's like, you just think about like why this story has been so captivating to so many people like us, why why all of us played it like 20 years ago and are still talking about it, and why there's a remake. And it's like there is like that moment, like I'll just say it. I'm just gonna say it. That stillness ending got me. I was like, oh fuck, they got me. I'm crying. And it is like, because it is like, I don't know how to put it. It's not like you're feeling sympathy for him, but there is like, you can
Empathy.
see where empathy. Like there's a lot going on here, and that's just
It's
a
a
strength of the story.
it's
Yeah,
a
I agree
deeply
about the
human
stillness.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've always kind of got especially now in the remake, it's like clearly James wasn't always like, I don't know how to put this. Like clearly he always had problems even before he was married to Mary.
Yeah, mental. If he was in the
Yeah,
mental hospital, something
and
happened.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And like, when you break it down to just oh, James was a victim, it's like that's really not what the story is saying.
It's
And that's,
reductive.
yeah, exactly. Like you're making it, you're almost making it boring.
And
Because
also let people thirst after him. They're not being serious. Come on, guys, let them have
People thirst
fun.
after Albert Wesker, they can thirst after James.
I mean,
Look,
it does not say anything about them. They're just having
Oh.
fun. Come on.
People have been horny for Sephiroth since 1997. Like, calm down.
I've just seen people say like mean comments to some people.
I'm
making
sure.
them
Anyone that
thirst
gets mad at
sweets. It's like,
somebody
come on.
else's shipping wars and all that stuff, grow up.
I know
It was interesting though, Whitney. You pointed out like your initial reaction to James and like the twist when you were younger.
Yeah.
I think I might have mentioned this a little bit in the first episode, but it's something that I felt really hard playing the remake now. I mean, I've been married for almost 10 years, and the first time I played Silent Hill 2, I was 17, and I have had distinct experiences of what I got out of the story coming when I finished it. And you can actually see it on old episodes of Whispers in the Dark. I remember.
Wait, are those still online? I thought those are gone.
I sure hope not.
Most of them are gone. Let me assure you of that.
Thank you, CJ.
But there was an episode where we talked about Silent Hill 2, and when I'd first played it, my only reaction was a very like baseline, oh, James did bad thing, James bad. Like, I didn't get anything deeper out of it than that. But at that time, I think it was when the HD collection came out, I was looking at him, I was trying to look at him more complicated. I'm like, oh, I mean, he's sympathetic, and it wasn't quite like, oh, Mary yelled at him, but it's like, there was complicated reasons. And then I played it a couple of years ago after having been married for a while, and I kind of came back to my initial experience when I was 17 of just kind of like, he's a monster. There's no more nuance to it. And after playing the remake, and I think a lot of it is to do with Luke Roberts' performance, is it's like, James is a monster. That doesn't mean it isn't complicated, though.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that he isn't a character that I can't have sympathy and empathy for. That doesn't mean that I mean, like, James himself doesn't even seem to have a real answer for why he killed her. It's just it
seemed like he blacked out.
That's
Yeah.
when I say snapped, I literally mean that. Like, just mentally,
Yeah, just like a fugue
especially
state.
like in caretaking, it can destroy you. Like the weight of it.
People
Mhm.
shaking their babies to make them stop crying. They don't mean
Yes,
it,
Yeah.
but it's like
the
And
that.
stress just drives you
it's
nuts.
and it's just
It's a story that has. I mean, there's so many different endings, which I think is the best way to look at it. Is just every ending is what is the conclusion James comes to. And I think that that also is the player themselves. All of us have our own conclusions we come to because it is not black and white. Our ages, our life experiences. I don't have the life experience of taking care of somebody terminally ill, but you do. I spoke to somebody as I was playing the remake that had, and they were telling me how much it was affecting them. And I think that's part of why people still talk about this game after 20 years, because I feel like you get as much out of it as you put into it. It's such a complicated human story that you don't really see ever, not just games, but movies, art in
Yeah.
general.
The,
It's good.
the
and
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
oh, oh, you go ahead. That's okay.
The thing about the narrative to me, there are a lot of narratives that are somewhat universal to very universal. The narrative of Silent Hill 2 is a very dark and deep one that if you live long enough, you will experience. Someone in your life is going to die. Someone in your life is going to die slowly, and you will watch them change. And for me, there are so few stories that will actually deal with that in a real way. Like, when I first really came to Silent Hill 2 and fell in love with it, my dad was dying of cancer. And it was the only, like, Silent Hill was the only thing I could play and distract myself with because it felt like everything else was just fake. Because nothing else felt like what I was feeling then. And that's important. And we don't have enough art that really embraces, especially in video games. I think there's a lot of fiction, there's a lot of movies, but in video games, to deal with something that real, that all of us are going to deal with, that is a rare gem. And that's part of the reason I'm really glad they remade it.
Yeah, and there's always especially with like romantic relationships, there's always like moments in your life where you'll be like, oh, I really wish I hadn't fucking done that. You know what I mean? Like, I really wish I had learned how to communicate my emotions rather than, like the part that
Yeah.
in both the original and the remake, the part that always gets me is the hallway scene with Mary, where it's
Yeah.
just like
Wait, don't go.
yeah, where she's
Yeah.
like she's clearly in so much pain, and all she can be is be angry about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know, I can't quite bridge this thought, but like, you know, October said like maybe part of James doesn't quite know why I did it, but I remember the part in the remake that like made me just like was my absolute favorite part was the videotape scene when the camera, when Laura says she died because she was sick, and then the camera goes to James's face, and you can just see it in his eyes and in his face. When he says I killed her, and you can just see 1,000 thoughts are zooming around in his head.
Yeah.
And he's just like broken.
Mm.
And I think that's why, yeah. Don't reduce this story down to who was bad and who was good.
Yeah.
Well, James was bad. God damn it, here I go again. You know what I mean?
yes. It's not quite black and white, and I do like how our views on this game and its story changes as we got older, and that just shows what a great story it was. It
Yeah.
has a lot of nuance to it that maybe you don't pick up until, like you guys said, you have that life experience. It kind of reminds me, I know this is like a tangent, but Last of Us, spoilers, people's reactions to what Joel did at the end of the game. Like someone, oh my god, he's a horrible person. I watched the Last of Us television show with my parents. They don't play video games, right? And I was waiting to see their reaction to what Joel did, shooting up the hospital to go save Ellie. And after that scene, I turned and I said, what do you think about what he did? And you're like, yeah, I would do the same thing. If you have kids, you would do the same thing. And I just thought that was really interesting that some people were like, no, that's horrible. He's dooming humanity and whatnot. But like, some people are like, nah, man, fuck them. Fuck
really
them.
How many,
funny you say
how
that.
many,
I was always on. Sorry, go ahead.
Who wants to go first?
I was just gonna say, like,
I was always on. Sorry, go ahead, AJ.
sorry. I was just to say that I bet a lot of that first reaction is probably a lot of kids, not parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now
younger
that's the
people.
thing I was going to go to is like the not getting the nuance is like, well, we got, years of real world experience and relationships and whatnot, and now you can see it through a different lens, and it's great how the story changes the older you get, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
It's funny because with the TV show, my parents don't play video games at all. They watch a video game for 30 seconds and they get motion sick. But they watched the Last of Us TV show and they both really, really loved it. And like you, I was curious what my parents were going to say when they got to, Joel shooting up the hospital. And I mean, without a second's hesitation, my dad was like, "Yeah, I'd do the same. Fuck these people."
Yeah, my dad actually said, "Fuck them."
Yeah, my dad went, "Fuck those people." And the two things I remember, because there's a lot of discourse on Twitter and whatnot about you never know, they could have done it. And my dad was just kind of like, those people aren't doing shit in that shitty hospital with no electricity and their little tiny dinky knives. I don't trust those people as far as I could throw them. And anyway, she's not old enough to consent to that operation, so fuck all those people. I'd do the exact same thing. I'm like, yeah, you are right,
I
Dad.
think it's like sort of a lot of people have said about when you read a book, as a teenager, and when you read it, decades later, it's a different book basically because you're interpreting it differently. So I think it sort of has grown and changed over the years, and because you never step into the same river twice and so on.
It's like, oh my god, what Edward watching Bella sleep is so romantic. To like, oh my god, that guy's a stalker. Fuck him.
or the people that are like, Walter White's just doing this for his family. Yeah, no, he didn't need to blow up he didn't have to set up a bomb in an old folks' home to protect his family. He
It's
could have
also
just
sort
turned
of a
himself in.
Rorschach test for whatever you're feeling at that moment.
Yeah, exactly.
We are
I was
approaching.
on
Sorry.
Oh yeah, let me just. I was just gonna say I was always on Joel's side in terms of the hospital. I love how dynamic that makes the story because it's horrific. He still killed people regardless of his motivations, and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. But regardless of whether they could have actually gotten a cure for Ellie, thematically, it's do you save everybody in the world or do you save the person you most care about in the world? And just getting quickly back to the
Bay
the
or
dynamic.
Trolley problem.
It turns out, fuck Bay. They broke up off camera. Spoilers for Last of Us Part whatever.
Mean Life is Strange.
Life is Strange, yeah.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Silent Hill 2, is James a bad guy and the dynamic of that horrible situation? One thing I keep coming back to is something CJ said. I believe it was when we did our podcast on Silent Hill 2, the original. And we were discussing it. People were going back and forth on, was James not justified, but does he still deserve some kind of sympathy? And people had different opinions. A lot of it was James is bad and he's a horrible person, which, I mean, I agreed to up to a certain point, but something CJ said always stuck with me. He said it was a bad situation. James was in a bad place. Mary was in a bad place. There was nothing ideal about it, And rather than having to pick a side, I think it's a snapshot of two people, like you said, in a bad situation, and then how they act, and that's always I've always kind of looked at it that way since, because I don't think there is an easy answer. I think just as reductive. Just as it's a reductive way of saying James is a victim, but I think it's also reductive to see no redemption in that character, or see him as completely a monster. I think there's room for nuance in both ways.
Yeah. Amy, did you have something else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. Let's wrap this up. Again, You guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a treat to discuss it. I don't know if you guys want to do a third podcast, but maybe maybe we think about it and we realize there's things we forgot to talk about this time. We can do it again. But let me know. You guys have anything cool going on? Anything you want to plug as we wrap this up?
Let me go first real quick. 'Cause my family just showed up. I have a YouTube channel. I'm not posting right now for taking kind of a winter break, but I have like more than 100 videos on Silent Hill and about 10 on Fatal Frame. So if you like either of those, give it a try.
Yeah,
And
check out AJ's
Are your
stuff.
books still on sale?
Not yet. The books are being edited, but I hope to put them back up this December.
Nice.
I got a couple of books when first started coming
so-
out with them, and they're great. I recommend them.
Okay. CJ, Kyle, you guys have anything going on?
Nothing different than what I plugged last time. Just look forward to The Thing remastered from Night Dive Studios. That's the one scary thing I can reference right now.
Okay.
I am looking forward to it. I don't have anything to plug other than you can follow me on Blue Sky at Kyle Vito, where I just mostly post stupid shit. So enjoy that.
Okay. Amy, you have anything new?
Well, yeah, I'll be working on some new health drinks and things based on the new ones, and you can check those out probably at my Etsy, which is Amy Ballett, and I'll also probably be reviewing it soon on Substack, which is Amy Ballett 1, and YouTube is Alchemilla Hospital 1.
Cool. Did you get your cords yet?
Oh yes, I got my cord so I can record. So I will be doing
Nice.
a video playthrough and review.
Nice. Okay. William, do you have anything you would like to plug or talk about that you have in the works?
Rely on Horror just celebrated its 15th anniversary, so we're excited about that.
yeah.
If you go to our site, we have a couple anniversary articles, so feel free to check that out.
You can follow me at octoberart.bsky.social. And if you're interested, you can check out Amanda the Adventurer 2, which I did some artwork for. Available now on Steam.
Okay. And as for me, still, my YouTube channel is now monetized again, so yay. Whatever I make will go into this year or in next year's fundraising efforts. I am going to be streaming Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill 2 and the remake back to back, end of December, probably like the 29th again, I don't know, or 28th. And I'm going to be playing those, and I'm also going to be giving away, like raffling off stuff for those who donate. So every year I'm trying to raise money for Extra Life, and anything I make, streaming, my YouTube channel, I just put it into my fundraiser. So yeah, I'm doing it for the kids. I hope you guys can join me, and I'll hopefully post about it on my various social medias. Kemi_Row on Twitter, Kemi Row on Blue Sky, Instagram, all that good stuff. That's all really going on with me right now. I'm making little Twitter threads of little details I like. That's about it. So I'm still talking about Silent Hill 2. But yeah, thanks again for joining, everybody, and hope to speak to you all again real soon. Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Later.
Voices in the Static, the podcast of the Silent Hill fan site, SilentHillHistoricalSociety.com, was recorded and edited by me, Whitney Chavis. I want to give a big thanks to all my guests and you guys for listening.